What is up, people, and welcome back to the FNtasia podcast. We're here with episode 8. The boys in the building. We ain't got Harry today. The rest of the boys in the building. How's everyone doing?
Class, my friend. Class, especially since Harry's not here. Even better, man.
Yeah, it's a great day when Harry doesn't have to waffle in front of the audience today.
Exactly. He got Queasy came and, took him out. So we'll have to find a replacement.
I hope not. Well, let's get right into it. I want to ask you guys, I got a little Reddit thread for you guys I want to go through.
Ooh.
What is the best gun in Fortnite history? Let's start off.
I want to caveat immediately. What's your definition when you say best? Because there's so many different ways. Best could be like the favorite, the most overpowered. There's so many different ways we could go with this.
So I think the person who made the thread on Reddit, shout out to them. His name is Radically His. They categorize it as the most unstoppable gun. So like, what was just like the one gun that was just like the most broken? And I got some responses. I want to get you guys' thoughts, but let's read through some of the responses and maybe that can inspire us.
Sure.
So the first one here says, the prime versions of the drum gun and both the Stinger and Combat SMG will always be up there for the most overpowered. Think they're the only times where it was meta to not even carry a shotgun.
Well, they immediately said prime shotgun as part of that example. So, so I think the caveat. As soon as you said prime shotgun, I grinned ear to ear to start with, because I remember at that time I just started learning keyboard and mouse, and I was like,
Ooh.
right, chapter 2, season 6, primal, worst time you could ever try to learn keyboard and mouse. Yeah. And I remember picking this little controller up, was barely even working, barely even working, and I had the mythic primal shotgun. And there's a clip, I have it somewhere, of me just jumping into, like, I fell in this little edit into a box and just 200-0'd the guys, both of them, in like 5 seconds. So in my heart, the primal shotgun may always be one of the most overpowered. Absolutely. I was too shit to be good with the Stinger though. So.
Yeah.
Is that the one that's like an auto shotgun, right? Or am I missing it?
Yeah. The one where it was like...
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I just have nightmares of that one. I was actually going the other way with this, because the first thing that comes to mind is like explosive weapons, or like maybe the boom bolt someone said in chat. But I feel like going simple for this question is just the spaz. Like a shotgun that just does 200 damage to the head, I feel like is like so broken. And like, I can't even believe we ever had that iteration in the game. Add to the dismay of everyone that wants it, because like, if the 200 pump comes back, bro, like I'm making it. I'm winning FNtasia grand finals, basically everyone says. But like, I can't believe we ever had a shotgun that did 200 damage to the face. Like I used to be able to play the game, insta edit on someone and insta kill them, even though they did everything right to me. Like
you weren't doing that. Let's be real.
I was doing that.
Start season. You were waking up. That was in your dreams. You were waking up to the reality. You're hitting 40s.
I remember I was sitting in Stark Hangar, Trio FNCS, and there's a car coming from the main hangar, because I was a bitch, right? I didn't land main stand of Stark, right? I landed on the hangars, and little old Queasy and Milan pop out of the car, kill them, and then I woke up. No, that was actually a different happen. But,
like, so are you taking the mantle of Queasy hater now? Like, why is it? Like,
someone needs to put down Queasy on this podcast for once.
I actually like the fact that the guy mentioned the combat SMG, because I do remember when that dropped, it was literally you run double that, like double combat SMG, no shotgun needed. It was insane. Like controller players were eating back then, like completely eating.
Yeah.
Let's see, there was another person. Oh my goodness, there was so many of them. So many of them.
She made a career.
I was like chapter 3, season 2, and it was like suddenly there was the rise of controller players again. It just appeared from nowhere, just fucking for like a week, and then I got nerfed.
Thankfully,
and then they got washed again. Yeah.
Man, I remember the original P90. I think it was in the game at the same time with the crazy drum gun as well. Maybe I'm wrong, but the P90 when it dropped, being insane. I do remember that week when it dropped.
I don't. Crazy. That's what's funny, because every time I've asked a question like this, I always get this response. Or like, there's a bunch of old articles from chapter 1 that say the same thing. They're like, "Oh, the pre-nerfed P90 was crazy," and I was so bad in chapter 1 that I just like, maybe I have no point of reference for like how good the spray weapon is, but I have no recollection of it.
It's a discussion of whether, like, in what context are we thinking broken, right? Like, because a minigun on high ground is like the most unstoppable thing ever. The boom board on high ground is the most unstoppable thing ever. But like when it comes to like a boom board in like a mid game fight, it doesn't really change too much of the actual fight, right? Compared to like a havoc pump, where if you just hit anywhere in the vicinity, you won't kill them as well, right? Or like a heavy sniper break into a box. So what's the most annoying thing to play with in terms of a meta? And actually, maybe like the MK7 is also up there. Like that thing was, it was uncountable to play against MK7 in that meta.
Someone did mention the fact that the old P90 had 50 bits. I think that was part of why I was so insane. I think there was some other SMGs, like I think like combat SMG, like was like better in terms of like it was more broken. But the OG P90 having 50 shots in it, it was just like you just hold down like your left click and you never let go, and they're dead every time.
Yes, with another one.
The next person did actually say, personally, the MK7 assault rifle.
Yeah,
that one was crazy.
You were never safe ever running around the map. Just like 3, 2, 1 with in duo. Was it trios back then?
I didn't remember what season was that.
Duos, no. That was chapter 3, season 1.
Yeah, imagine that shit in trios where you just get triple spades going or something. Like, yeah, duos. Even then, you wouldn't have the time to react. You're basically playing Call of Duty, but.
In solos, you barely had time to react to that weapon half the times. Like, you just get shot immediately. And if like, I remember vividly because that was one of the first like first-person weapons when you were ADSing. I think that might have been outside of like the DMR or the old DMRs, whatever they were called. I can't remember. So I remember clearly they hadn't figured out the balance very well for it whatsoever. And I remember if the spray pattern was essentially aim at the chest and it just goes straight up to the head every single time. And I remember if you got that right, they were just insta dead. There's just absolutely no countering it at all.
The next person said Havoc shotgun. That's similar to what you were saying, Boop, about like a one shot like headshot. That mythic Havoc, I actually like it more than like the spaz, like the spaz pump. I don't know. For me, it was just like more satisfying. I always loved that shotgun, but it was ridiculous. Like
the pull-out time though was awful.
Yeah. If you ever go into like a rant, like if you play speed realistics and then there's like a setting that has mythic Havoc for whatever reason, and it's like you're like you build.
Nah, it's not that bad. It was not that bad.
And then like you shoot 90 degrees away from them and you still do 100 damage because the crosshair is this big, You're
forgetting the reaction time has to be incorporated into resets.
Of course.
Gameplay.
No, I swear the Havoc shotgun was the one where it wasn't that big. Like you had to be more accurate, no?
No. It was that.
It was a pretty big hit. Yeah.
No, I swear it was smaller, no?
No. It had Havoc had a massive hit thingy.
Yeah.
If you ADS'd it really closed in, but it was really, really like idiot proof basically to hit with.
There was only one on the map. Was there only one on the map? See, my memory is awful. Holy shit.
I think you guys. Some of the people in the chat are saying Havoc was smaller. I don't know. Maybe
it depends what your reference is, though, of like what is smaller. Like, if you AD, it's
smaller than like the spaz pump. Smaller than the spaz pump.
Yeah. Smaller than spaz pump. Yeah, but it wasn't like the Thunder or because that was weird. It's like a strong. It's not as good as Striker. You know what it is.
So somebody else said another shotgun though, which this one was crazy when it dropped. Combat shotgun when it was first released, and they said it was like a gatekeeper with more range and 8 shots. And it sounds insane, but like it actually was when it first released in chapter 1 as well. Like shit was crazy.
I remember the worst part about it is like if you didn't have one, that was it, right? It was like the sound of it just go boom, 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 when you just hear people all the time was terrifying. But the worst part is it was like you could be, I think it was like 2 or 3 tiles away and still almost do max damage with it.
Yeah.
And if you had a pump at that range, you're tickling them for like 20 or 30. So on approach, like fighting got so difficult. If you just had a pump and they had to combat because they're just opening with like such large damage if they're mildly further away from you. You try to spray them to get some damage. They're just looking at you with a shotgun, hitting like a 80 or something immediately.
My favorite part about it as well was like at the start of the season when those things came out, like everyone made those like range videos. I remember, I think you made one as well too. Yeah. It's like, okay, by the way, when you're 5 blocks away, you can hit a motherfucker for like 100. Boom, boom, boom. It was crazy broken.
The RPG once did damage through builds for about 6 hours until the emergency nerf.
So that actually was a very interesting patch. That right there is patch version 7.40. This is of extremely specific knowledge,
How do you
right?
know this?
Because this is the worst Fortnite patch of all time. Like, there's a genuinely, I remember I did a video on this like 2 years ago or something like that. So that was the first thing. So like rocket launchers, it did like a quarter damage through. So say if you shoot a rocket launcher, you know, it did 100, it would do like 25 or something. Insanely annoying. I think this is what else did they do in that patch? I can't remember. I think they like really messed up aim assist, and then at the same time, was that the one where they put like a really broke? I can't remember what the rest of it was.
What patch number was that? I'll look it up real quick.
7.40.
7.4
patch notes.
They
They had some awful stuff in this patch. I remember.
Hunting rifle got added. Okay, smoke grenades, clingers, remote explosives. Oh, those are fun. Porta force, impulse grenades, shockwaves. Chest spawns and floor spawns are set to 100. Oh my god, this was a great patch. What the fuck? 100% chest spawns. And then infantry rifle, hand cannons had environmental damage of 150.
Oh no, sorry.
And it was nerfed.
This was the best patch. 7.0 was the best patch. Because that's what that was the one where they added I think, what do you call it?
And they added Siphon.
They changed they added Siphon, they changed Turbo Build, they put all the pop-up cut. That's when they put the stuff in pubs. Yeah, okay. I'm getting my oh, and they nerfed aim assist. That was it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we were eating on that day, man. What day was that?
Crazy.
You gotta celebrate the day that released.
This was there's not even a date on there. We can't even celebrate it as a holiday, man.
I'm trying to yeah, okay. Oh well, I take it back. I thought I had the god knowledge all of a sudden, but I'm just
funny enough, the Save the World update was longer than the Battle Royale update almost on this one. Like how times have changed for these people. Poor people. I see someone wrote Evercrow Mythic in the chat, which is also, I think, it's probably the highest environmental damage to any wall possible in the game. I think there is still nightmares that can be made from that gun.
Yeah, there's a lot of these ones that give nightmares. Somebody else in this thread said Infinity Blade, full stop. Yeah. Winter Royale.
Yeah.
Well, like, no, weapon, right?
Weapon.
Yeah, if we're talking weapons, like Infinity Blades. I don't even know how that shit was even like I don't know how that was a thing, man. And like we actually had that in Winter Royale, and like people were just what's the clip of the one NA player who's just running around the back? I forgot who the player was. Was it Chap?
I think it was Chap, no?
I don't think it was Chap. Somebody in chat will remember. 100%. Somebody in chat remember.
Was that? Sorry, my earphones died.
It was Sam. Yeah. Bloodx right there. Bloodx remembers.
Bloodx was living those times. He was running the lobby, bro.
That was Bloodx's prime as a player, man. He remembers it well.
The good old days.
I don't know how that existed. I saw someone in chat say this earlier, and somebody else in the thread also mentioned that overclocked pulse rifles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the mythic one in Chapter 4 Season 2, I remember, or was it Chapter 4 Season 2 or Chapter 4 Season 1? It might have been Season 1. Because it was...
Yeah, one of those two.
I'm looking at
because you got it from the island. You got it from the island, right? In Chapter 4 Season 1, I think. And it was that season where, like, most people were predicting Malibuka and Thomas to win FNCS because they played for the island every game and they got those rifles. And people were like, will they have those rifles? They're winning FNCS. It was ridiculous.
That was actually going to be my go for. You know what's weird? I don't think enough people complained about that. I feel like that was we're in a period of time where, like, I don't know, even now to an extent, well, maybe not because of the gloves, but we kind of just, I feel like everyone in the Fortnite community just got Stockholm syndrome, and they were just like, you know what, I'm just not even going to complain about this stupid, broken, dumb shit that should never be in the game. They just, like, maybe one or two tweets on Twitter or a clip or two and be like, wow, this is so broken, and then they just ignore it for the rest of the season. That was like a prime example of something that was literally the most broken spray gun ever added to Fortnite, and like there's just no one's really moaning about it.
No, it was ridiculous. It was like you just weren't safe. And there's a couple of those weapons that we've had like that where like you just weren't safe. Like I think someone in chat just entered railguns. Like weapons like that where there's actually nothing, you know, to play into the jokes of this season. Like you can't adapt, you can't shoot back. Like you're just dead if someone's shooting at you, you know.
The funny part about it is we just have so many of them, you know, like there's been the fact that there's even discussion on what the actual most broken item in the game was when we did have Infinity Blade in the game at some point that gave someone 400 fucking HP and a regen and like swing to the box, and now we have little Infinity Blades running around as well, giving the same confidence. It's true. It's almost I feel like it's either the worst game design balancer in the history of any video game ever, or it's the greatest marketing campaign in the world. It has to be on purpose, you know. Like it gets the people talking. It gets any publicity is good publicity. That's the name of the game of Fortnite, probably.
I mean, as much as like it's some of these things cause severe amounts of pain, I'm sure all of us all have like a great memory of using one of these weapons, you know? Like the clip Reese posted of me using the fist from squads, I will never forget that. Like I will look back on that in 5 years and be like, oh my god, those fists were insane. And that
tell the grandkids about them. Here's one grandpa 1v4 logo with a bunch of fists. The great
it's also like a skills a lack of skill basically in that, because like we don't have those pop-off moments. So when we use the fists to kill 4 people on low ground, that's like the best thing that's ever happened.
The highlight of our lives, basically.
Highlight of our lives, man. But like, you see Vino drop down low ground, man, he's forgetting about that, you know, by the time the game's over.
True. Hits about 4 of them a game.
I mean, you guys played the Squad Cup. Like, how was that for you?
We'll get to the Squad Cup. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, man. Come on, man.
That's going to be the entire podcast.
That's a long story.
Come on, man. We're saving that to the end, bro. We got to edge the guys a bit, you know? Come on, man. This one doesn't, I think, count as like overpowered, but someone in the thread said like the original like double pumping. I missed that so much. Like that was actually like so fun. Obviously, like the one person I think comes to mind for a lot of people will be like Daquan back in the day. Like that was his whole like thing, you know. It was like double pump. I really miss double pumping like that. It was satisfying as hell.
It's weird. There's always like it's like a topic that gets so much YouTube clicks and you know, people clickbait like the double pump's back. You can do it again, and the amount of bait that comes out of it. And I actually sit and think, I was like, was there enough people around at that time that were good enough to double pump that are hyped about it returning? Because I was so bad I didn't even know about it at the time, right? And now I think like yeah, that's what I mean. I'm thinking like the amount of people who want double pump back in some extent. I'm like, you guys probably didn't even use it to start with.
The very same people will be the ones complaining about it, like, oh, these fucking sweats double pumping. Like, oh my god, why did you use one gun, you dumbass? Like, what are you doing?
That's interesting, you know, because it's like that. I think that speaks to like the progression of like people, like, because you're right. I think there would be people who complain, but I don't think those are the same people. Like those people weren't around then. You're right. Like it's weird. I wish we could like very easily like see like when people were from and like how they've evolved now. It's weird though. You're right. It's weird that still does like appeal to people. Like, yeah, bring double pump back. It's like 6 years later, mate. Like,
I also think about like who the fuck would use double pump now? Literally,
with the stuff in the game, yeah, you wouldn't carry double pump, really.
Never.
Yeah,
like you just switch to the most broken SMG known to man, or you know, something like that, or whatever, or just fists. Let's be real, that's already a double pump. So like, I don't know. There's almost like no reason to do it. And back then, obviously, the pump had like crazy range in some times. So it's like you could play. Imagine it was like it's almost like you had a combat shotgun at that point. So yeah, I don't know.
Gatekeeper is double pump. Someone said that. Gatekeeper is double, you know, you're right.
True.
It does feel like it.
Well, you could take double Gatekeeper. There you go. When you run out of ammo, then you just switch to the next one.
Did people used to do that with attack though? Like you did pump and then into attack.
Yeah.
Attack had like crazy environmental damage to walls and stuff, which would made it like super good to like replace walls, shoot again, pump, and attack again. Yeah, they were good times.
No, people did that. I don't know if people started doing it because they had tried to nerf double pump and failed, but then like it meant that pump tack was OP. I think it was something weird like that when they tried to do something to it, but then it just ended up making pump tack like the best for a bit.
This is a bit of a side tangent, but I'm trying to remember what like the most damage a tactical shotgun did at some point, because that could easily be put into actually the most broken, because I swear to God there was one. It definitely did 150 headshot at one point, like a long time ago.
I feel like 183 comes to mind or something with a golden tack back then. Yeah, like 180-ish.
Something in the 170s to 180.
Yeah.
I swear was like a max headshot. That is actually criminal when you think about how broken that is.
And you can
Wasn't
shoot
it
twice.
the season with like a command cavern maybe? Like it was like that.
No. Chapter. It was chapter one.
It was like chapter one.
Yeah.
Because remember like the gold tack like from one of those seasons around that time though. Like it was like chapter maybe early chapter 3.
Trios. Because I remember people IGOs used to run tacks because you could. Because you wouldn't want to run pump because the pull-out time was too slow, and you would want to break walls so you can torp ahead of people. So I think it was like Stoic-ish, like around that time when trios was out, because you'd have to run the tack to break walls and stuff. But I don't think it did 180.
195 gold tack in early chapter 2? There's no way. There's no way attack was doing 195, man. There's just no shot.
What was the shotgun where you could just like two tap someone with that like it was only a two double barrel. That also has like that also has a discussion in place of like hatred for a lot of people, because you would try to go in and some guy would just like double barrel shotgun you in the face for like 140 damage and you would just be pissed.
I feel like that's a good weapon. That's a good example of a weapon where it was like initially it was even more stronger when it dropped because there was nothing like it. So like you weren't just expecting someone who's like right next to you to be able to instantly kill you in that way.
Bang.
Like like it was just it was.
It was nice though, because at least with that shotgun, like you'd kind of have to be smart about it, because you have to be in someone's face to do it. Maybe that doesn't sound smart, but like at least with that shotgun, like you have to sort of change your play style to be able to get into someone's face, right? Same with this like attack. Like attack, you want to try to get close to someone. With a pump, you want to keep distance. It was nice to have at least that dynamic in guns where two people were trying to do different things. It made for like an interesting fighting style. A lot of it now feels a lot more one-dimensional when you play like one singular shotgun meta, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Well, yeah, no, that was an interesting thread. Thank you very much to Changing Crisis for sending that to me, and big shout out to the guy on Reddit who made that thread, because there was some good nostalgia moments in that for sure.
What was yours? I don't think you.
What was mine? Okay, what's mine? What would I say? I think if I'm thinking of like what was the most fun to me to use that was like broken, it'd probably be it'd either be like that combat shotgun from like chapter 1. Maybe like I almost want to say fist, man. I don't know, like it's new, but I almost want to say fist, man.
So reliving that highlight from last week.
I mean, this is just crazy, man. I don't know. What was the one sniper? There was a sniper that was really good as well.
The zone reveal one?
Not the zone reveal one. Oh man, it's gonna bug me. Someone in chat will know for sure.
Not auto sniper that kept having you didn't have to reload, was it?
No, it wasn't that.
Dragon Breath, but that was never in comp.
No. Yeah, but I wasn't playing much comp, mate. So you know, I'm talking from my view of it. I'm not playing much comp, am I? I can't remember it, but either way, there's been a lot of them. But I'd say combat shotgun from chapter 1. I'm always a nostalgia merchant with stuff like this, so it's always something from chapter 1 with me. Original minigun.
Original minigun. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay.
Minigun, yeah.
I did just check, and yes, the gold tank used to do 195 or 196.
Okay, no.
On day release, the purple one did 186 or something like that as well.
You can imagine an Epic employee had to sit there and they had to manually type in that number. Like, that's great. Yeah, perfect. My kids are gonna love this.
To hit all the pellets. Yeah.
I mean, that's just disgusting. Honestly, that is disgusting. All right, well,
traps as well. I love traps. Just want to put that out there. They're gonna bring them back.
Shout out to traps. Someone in the I didn't read it out at the time. I'm still going on this. Someone in the thread said it's not a weapon, but like the missile strikes and like the junk grifts and stuff like that, where you just chuck something down on someone, just completely. Oh my!
Season X, Epic were smoking something different, man. I swear to God. Like, what the fuck were they thinking that season? Storm flip and like all of these items that just like. The thing is that they were so creative. Like actually, the storm flip was such a good idea, but it was like executed horribly.
It's back when they had people to actually code weapons instead of like coding stuff for like the
Lego.
music festival and Lego.
Yeah, true.
Resources are spread thin.
Yeah, it's a bit too spread now. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a nice chat. Welcome back to the pod, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, it's been good. It's been a fun week. We've had not much in terms of like competitive Fortnite BR stuff, but we had like the first sort of eval. We had, people getting accustomed to the competitive meta. We obviously had ESL on the weekend, which we're going to spend a lot of time talking about, sort of coming up. But how you guys been? What you guys been up to over the past week?
Well, you may be able to tell my background is no longer a white corner with no sunlight. So I have moved flat. So I unfortunately did not get to watch much ESL this weekend because I absolutely would have. Would have loved to watch more, but I was busy moving all my stuff. So now I have a studio where I don't have to annoy my girlfriend when I shout and scream every time I die playing Fortnite. So
you almost have a tan now as well. I see from the window. Like,
of course, yeah.
Like you've been in that spot for like a few days. He's already
looking crispy already. Yeah, that's
looking good. It's a good look.
Thank you. I've been trying. It's not just the t-shirt or anything, you know. I'm not actually topless here. I know.
I was gonna ask you, like, what was the response like to the video you did attacking all of the casuals and calling them idiots?
Oh, yeah, of course. Very positive, actually, which I thought was quite funny because, you know, anyone who didn't watch it, I didn't quite call them all idiots. I just said they're all stupid, which is two very different things.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, idiots is more like their whole persona, and stupid means that they're just losing brain cells in their opinions. So at the time, it was funny because I just thought, you know, I'm making good points here discussing how all of... Well, I had to stop when I was recording it in the sentence to make sure I word it correctly without just being like
mean,
too mean, because it's not.
Rude,
I came out pretty mean, but that wasn't the goal. I was trying to actually be, you know, educating people and being like, what you're saying doesn't make sense. Saying like just adapt to these fists in a competitive meta doesn't make sense. I think because I feel like I did that relatively well, even though I still insulted everyone at the same time. I think most people were just like, you know, agreed with it. To be honest with you, like I sent a picture, a screenshot to this chat where it was like, one guy was like, "You're just hating on casuals. 22 minutes of being closed-minded." And then someone sent him the video and he watched it and he was like, "Actually, I changed my mind. I agree with what you said." I was like, "Awesome. That's good. Respect." I didn't really see any, to be honest with you, I saw almost no comments of people being like, "Oh, this guy's just wrong," or in this reason, you know.
Funny enough, I think I saw a quote retweet on Twitter the other day with like 2,000 likes of like one of your clips. It was like, you know what? This guy's he's actually making some good points. You know, like it was the first actual like meaningful conversation, and like it makes sense. Like one furry to another furry, right? Like you'd be the intermediary for us between the competitive community
bridge
and the casuals. Gap. Exactly. Yeah. The tail's wagging in the background.
So, it is. You can't see it. That's why I'm standing up, bro. Yeah. No, it's true. It was funny because someone put like the clip on Twitter, which was basically like the most egregious part, where I was basically just saying the only reason it was specifically relating to people who were laughing at build players struggling and, you know, like the fists just destroying the meta. And it was like, that's what it was in relation to. And what I said was, build players who fucking suck at building are happy because they're seeing someone else struggle with building because there's a counter to it. And now they're like, ha ha ha, I can't build, and now neither can he because I'm crap. And now so is he. And that was basically the context of the clip. But they kind of cut out the first part where I was saying it was specific to the people who are laughing at people who can't build. So it seemed like I was a little bit more salty, but even then, people still like agreed with it anyway. So I just thought, oh, that was an interesting take. So
you bitched them, man.
Less hate. Yeah, basically, I just alphaed up all of the furries. So yeah.
Clicks actually did something similar yesterday as well. Like he did a 1v4 against a bunch of casuals. I don't know if anyone watched that last night, but
I did see he was doing it, but I didn't watch it.
I watched a bit of it while I was doing some other stuff, and like it was actually okay. So it would consist of him. So he played box fights, then zone wars, and they played a game of normal pubs or ranked against each other, basically, right? And like it consists of first in box fights, they just like kept spraying them, and at the same time while spraying them, there was one dude in this call. They're just like, Clicks, I'm going to teach you the lore. You know, Midas is actually a really, really cool person. And like the way that he goes through, I'm going to teach you the lore if you lose this game, dude. Like he was so dead set on this happening. And then the next game in zone was he absolutely smoked them. Click smoked them. And then in the call game, it was just like a game of Car Royale where like there was like these two cars patrolling through the map. And Clicks was just constantly trying to get on island, trying to kill them. And they ended up like, okay, he lost box fights, he won zone wars, and there was like 2-1 in a regular game of Fortnite. And then it was just nothing came of it except for the guy.
Were these like total random casuals, or
one of the people were one of the Twitter accounts that had like a 30K tweet? I think Jojo or something. You must have seen.
Yeah, I saw those. I quoted some of those tweets in mine.
That man loves to. He loves the interaction. I can just tell you that. So like, you know, I don't think they were humbled in any way. But the most meaningful thing that comes out of it, and we all know about, is why don't we have separate loot pools? That was pretty much what it seems like. Yo, I don't give a shit what you do in comp. We don't give a shit what you do in casual. Just make comp loot pools. Why not?
I think that was like the most interesting thing I saw from the video I made and from a lot of these discussions since has just been like, there's always been a discussion from competitive players saying, why are we running basically the same loot pool as pubs? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. However, now this is the first time I'm really seeing casual players being like, we don't want the same loot pool as these competitive players. You know, we're seeing both sides asking for the exact same thing, which is a nice kind of fresh change.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder, like, to what extent will like people from that side have to start having those like conversations where like maybe we actually do see some sort of change on that? Because I feel like most people like concede that, especially in ranked, like you expect it to be like the comp loot pool. You know, it's like the one thing I think when we all like always are like, we need a better rank system, we need a better rank system, was like we want a better link for people who are casual to get into comp. Whereas now, if you start the game fully casual, and you decide to like, you know, play some BR regularly, then you're like, you know, I feel confident, let me play some ranked. Like after that, like the jump from playing ranked to playing tournaments is like such a huge, like it's just not the same world at all, you know?
This is something I extensively want to talk about, not in this particular moment because we have, you know, a certain time, but the mentality and the thought process behind it is they want obviously the easiest transition from pub players into tournaments. But at some point, you have to take that switch where there's no longer the pub loot pool and you're removing all of those things. And it's much better in my eyes to have that when you go to play ranked, because you're like, oh, this is what the competitive loot pool will be. Well, imagine you're like a first-time tournament player, right? You've just played a bunch of ranked, you grind, and Solo Cash Cup or FNCS comes, and you're like, right, I'm gonna play this. This is the first one, and you drop, and you're like, where's my mythic car? And it's first game of a Cash Cup, and then you're like, what the hell's going on here?
Where's my whip? Where's my booty bombs?
Yeah, exactly. I think the logic really falls apart there. The second part to that is also all of these players also jump into creative maps that have Chapter 1 Pump and Chapter 1 AR, and they play with whatever loot pool possible. So the idea that there has to be like exact parity between pubs and ranked, and then there's the difference between ranked and tournaments is a bit weird. It's like if they play with whatever they're given, you know. I think the logic there just really falls apart when they're trying to keep such a close loot pool and everything.
They've become everything they hated, pretty much. Epic. It's like we gotta keep it all the same. Like we want a seamless experience from one to the other, and it's just not happening anymore. So
yeah, it's never worked. It's been like 6 years of it not working, so I don't know why. Still trying, you know.
Yeah.
Basically, resub's been great.
Well, bro, we're fucking 6 years into comp, and we're still having conversations about why are this pub loot pool like almost the same as ranked as tournaments. Like,
yeah,
huh? You know, we've been talking about this since Chapter 1. It's crazy.
Well, good to know you had a good week.
Yeah,
oh, yeah, I did. I had a great week.
I thought that was great, right? Yeah.
What was your week, Boop? That was the other part.
Yeah, my week's been great. I mean, I've had. I mean, I think I'm on. Let me think. 10, 9. I think we're on 26 hours of ESL this past weekend. How many of those 26 hours was actual gameplay? Was a little bit less. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's been great. You know, it's a little bit exhausting, but. Excited for the future stuff for sure. I think we might have cooked here potentially for our side of competitive.
Yeah, well, I want to get into that conversation. So I will also say my week's been good. I also have a new background, not as nice looking as Reese's, unfortunately, but I have finally made the room switch. So I gotta decorate my room. I gotta get one of those, like, you know, them streamers who have like the sign of like their name or some shit on the wall, and they got like all the fancy. I gotta start like decking out my room or something. So
I think you gotta get like just weird shit in your background though. Like, I don't think you should get cool stuff. I think you should just get like a life-size cutout of you, and just that, and me. Why not? We could just both. And just anytime someone asks a question on it, just ignore it.
Well, you know what's funny? I still actually have. Remember when on FNCS they used to give us the like prediction awards?
Yeah.
Like thing. So I still have my picture of that with Zeke and you on it. So
I actually just threw my one. I
just only have that on the wall in the middle, just a tiny one.
Yeah. I'm not sure where it is in my room, but it's somewhere.
I was like, that's been in a cupboard for 2 years. I'm moving. It's one of the
things
that's going.
Is that a mirror behind you?
That is a mirror behind me. Yeah, just there. Yeah.
So just right in front of the bed, huh?
Not right in front of the bed. It's like the bed's.
Sorry, the
I see
angle
what you're trying to. I see what you're trying to do.
I'm just asking. I'm just curious about it. You know?
Nah, not right in front of the bed. You freak.
Filthy man.
Freak.
Good thing you can't see the ceiling, man. It's covered in mirrors.
The ceiling just covered in mirrors.
All right, let's talk about ESL. On the weekend, we had Dreamhack Dallas took place, and it was the Esports World Cup qualifier for Fortnite. Very, very different to what we've had at Dreamhacks in the past, but you know, if anything, much bigger than what we've had in Dreamhacks in the past, because it's again a qualifier for a multi-million-dollar event. Boop, I'm gonna give you the pleasure of giving us the breakdown of everything, since I know you did it for 30 hours straight. So tell us about, give us the run through of like the format the players had to play through and blah blah blah, like that. All that.
It would be my pleasure. So basically, we've had so ESL consisted of pretty much 3 days over this weekend. Started on Friday. What the hell? Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. For reference, this was meant to be a LAN tournament in Dallas where 64 teams were able to play the LAN. What ended up happening, I believe there was a total of 36 teams that actually went in and played. So I do believe that after this weekend, there'll probably be a lot more interest into it, because I think like viewership numbers and everything was actually kind of insane. Surprisingly well for everything. But basically, it started off with a Swiss format. And I know I've explained the Swiss format thousands of times this weekend, because this is the first interaction a Fortnite player has with an actual, competitive format for once when it comes to competitive. So essentially, for those who don't understand what Swiss format is basically you have a bunch of teams that are in a list. You play randomly against another team, and then all the teams that won a game will play against each other. All the teams that lost a game will play against each other, and basically just continuously play against the same people that have the same score as you, to simplify that. So that was done in day number 1 on the Friday in order to put people into groups and to seed them. Now, again, the word seed isn't very common in Fortnite. So basically, when you're seeding people, you're basically putting them into a group based on their placements as well. So the best player at the top, the best team at the top is the top seed. The lowest team at the bottom is the lowest seed. And you put those two teams together because you want to have an advantage for doing well in the previous Swiss system on Friday. And then in Saturday, then we had the group system based on those placements. And we'll talk about how good those forms are in a second. And basically, after those group systems, basically we had upper and lowers in groups. Teams were eliminated from there, and then they went into the playoffs on Sunday. And playoffs is where people were actually going to go and play against some of the good teams. And that was, again, another double bracket. And then we went through that entire day until the finals. And then the finals was won by Team Falcons. But
go ahead. To add, so like, the most important thing, I guess, from this was like a money competition. It was like 250K competition, right? Yep. But ultimately, like, they were playing for the 6 qualification spots for Esports World Cup in Saudi. So essentially, it was like the teams that made it through to the semifinals, and then the teams that made it to the lower bracket, round 2 technically, or round 3, something like that. We'll run through it, because I actually got the semifinals. But yeah, we can bring it up. I think we should run through each day. So as we run through each day, we highlight some things of interest. I think everybody had their expectations of what teams were going to be good going into the competition based off of the online faces we've seen, right? In EU, it was pretty straightforward of we knew Falcons were going to be really good. We knew Heroic were going to be pretty decent. We knew who else we knew that was going to be pretty good from EU.
KC, of course, was one of the top teams coming in. I mean, basically, you can check it out by the stature of the orgs they were signed to, right? KC, Falcons, and Heroic were some of the best teams going in. Also, Twisted Minds was considered decent, but not one of the top brogs in that one. And that's honestly pretty much it for the top 3 for EU. There was a few middling teams. You can pretty much see the Battle Royale placements does pretty much relate to the ESL placements. The top players in ESL, pretty much the top Fortnite players in Europe and in NA together, I would say.
Yeah, and we'll get to some of I think there'll be a conversation to why that might be happening and more as we get to the back end of this. But I'll get the Swiss stage up. So one thing that I will say was a bit of a surprise to me when going into ESL is obviously you can see here the two teams that finished the Swiss stage 5-0, winning all of their games in the Swiss rounds were Agent and Falcons. Now Agent, their roster was a bit of a
Mickey Mouse squad of people. I mean, not Mickey Mouse, but like
not Mickey Mouse, but people. I think a lot of people, including myself, were a bit like, I don't know how these guys would do. So essentially, their roster was Peterbot, Quanti, Milks, and Okis. And from my understanding, and I'm sure maybe someone from NA, can correct me if I'm wrong, but I did speak to a couple people from NA to get their sentiment on this as well. Was coming into this, if you looked at the face events we've had leading up, this roster or this combination, they weren't like considered like, oh, these guys are going to be the best NA team, even though in the end, as we can see from the Swiss stage, they were one of the best NA teams. I think you looked at Xset and they were the clear number one. Everybody was, Xset's the best NA team. They dominated most qualifiers online. The Stride roster was pretty good. This is the team with MPen, right? Yeah, they were pretty decent. And Fnatic as well were pretty good as well. They were considered one of the better NA teams. But Agent came through, won all their matchups, and a lot of people instantly were like, hold on a minute, let's look at who they're playing, right? They maybe didn't have the most difficult of opponents in that sort of Swiss stage, but they still looked pretty decent from what I saw. Like there was a lot of good moments where you could clearly tell they had a lot of firepower and they had some decent team synergy there.
The thing about Agent is like they did have that Mickey Mouse run in the Swiss qualifiers. It's the only thing my chat could ever talk about the entire time. I was like, man, Agent Mickey Mouse, because maybe because they're NA as well. But funny enough, yeah, the fact that Agent's showing up on LAN is also funny considering Peterbot's on that team as well. But like they showed up, right? Like they look like a cohesive team, and they showed up in an atmosphere and an arena where basically all the other teams felt like they were the more prepared teams because they all have coaches, they have bigger orgs. Agent might seem like a well-known name in the Fortnite scene, but in the broader scope of esports, it's it's a very tiny team with fun. I don't know where the funding comes from, but like they don't have that infrastructure where Xset had a coach and Coach Sven. Falcons definitely probably has some coaching with them, and KC has a very dedicated coach to them as well, because you could see the way that they played. And Agent's approach, the way that they played the tournament, was pretty much like fragging out and just relying on individual skill, and that worked a bunch of times. With names that they signed like Milks, which I think a lot of people didn't consider him to be. I mean, it's a name probably nobody even knows. Like I didn't know Milks before this weekend either,
no
right?
Clue, man.
And then I looked at his Twitter profile. I think like 1.5k earnings or something before this tournament. So like he's coming.
Where did they find him? Do we know?
I don't know. Like
I'm doing an investigation as we
maybe
speak.
it's a little bit more. I don't remember, but like he came in, and like I'd say on this team, if we're doing like a tier list of players, I'd say like Okis is by far the best player on this team. That man is an absolute tank. This guy was winning all of his kills. He was constantly dropping 20 bombs. And then I'd say Milks might actually be the second best player on Agent, other than Peterbot with his occasional pop-off on Hardpoint. But this guy was crazy. This guy was actually crazy. And then Quanti, we don't talk about Quanti.
Shout out to Quanti, man.
Shout out to Quanti. I mean, he's the IGL, so yeah.
Yeah. You always get away with it when you're the IGL. Were there any surprises then you'd say from the Swiss stage? I thought like again it was a bit tough because some of the runs some people had were clearly like not balanced. It didn't feel like everybody was having an even crack at the whip, as my friend Frankie would say. I guess maybe you would have expected KC to be a team that maybe 4-1 or 5-0'd, but again.
Look at the matchups they had, right? They played Heroic and Falcons in Swiss stage, so
like that's always going to be super tough. I guess as you scroll down, there were a couple teams that like signed to orgs that again just didn't go the best. Heretics had a stand-in, right, because iDrop couldn't play. So Naku was
back issues or something. Yeah.
Oh, careful!
Whoa, careful now!
Whoa!
It's not your thing, unluckily.
Yeah, I don't use Bing, so anyway.
Something else.
Guilds obviously picked up a team. They even signed Marius on loan, and again, just didn't look too hot when it came down to things. Then unfortunately, we had the Asian teams. Some of them. Zeta came
I'm
over.
so sad, man. I really wish T1 would come in and go crazy. Like Asia teams aren't typically good at shooters, but I thought this game mode was close enough to like a League of Legends mix. Maybe T1 got a bit of faker in them, but they just came in disappointed. Like they flew all this way just to whiff, man. I felt so sad for them.
This FNtasia qualifier, I basically, as soon as they did it, I saw the tweets being like, "We're gonna qual online. No one else is gonna." Yeah.
Which
So,
is
to answer your question about like who came in disappointing, honestly, some of the teams I thought were going to come in a lot better. Twisted Minds comes to mind as a team that I thought was going to do okay, and they actually surpassed expectations, but they did. I mean, they got a bad matchup. Fnatic came in very surprising. Didn't expect much of them. Big. A lot of people questioned their run in the tournament as well, which I think is probably something we need to talk about as well, is how the tournament structure changed, which did screw out a lot of these players because they basically had good matchups and then it ended up not being good matchups. But I think my number one disappointing player is probably Man City Esports. They didn't look that great through the whole tournament, even dropping games to teams like Gaming Gladiators, which sounds like a good team, but we're talking about like Man City. I guess maybe the prestige of that name outweighs the actual development that they've had as a team. Maybe due to the lack of practice as well.
Well, the thing about Man City compared to a bunch of other teams that I think is important to highlight is that Man City obviously had 4 people signed already to the org before the whole ESL stuff was announced, and they just ran with those 4 players. A lot of other teams and orgs intentionally picked up players that were like fitting of the team, and so it's like Heroic had Thomas. And Thomas, obviously built his team. So then Heroic picked up the players that Thomas was playing with. Yeah. Whereas like City just sort of ran with the players they had. And it was always going to be awkward because half the teams in the EU, half the teams in NA. So they were sort of when they were scrimming and practicing, it was like, that's already an awkward dynamic. On top of that, if some of those players, some of them probably weren't grinding this as much as you would have needed to, without, throwing any digs at anybody. But, it was always going to be a weird sort of dynamic with those guys.
I am curious how they're going to play the online qualifiers, as someone put in the chat, like because there's going to be 2 online qualifiers now, or 1 online qualifiers. Basically, NA gets 2 spots, EU gets 2 spots, Brazil gets 2 spots, some other region gets 2 spots, and then the other ones get 1 spot. So like, are we going to boot camp for NA, or are we going to boot camp into EU like during FNCS? I think it starts in like a few weeks from now, anyways. So it's kind of awkward time for that squad. Are they going to split? I don't know. And one of the other things, and even if they don't make it out, I am curious if individuals from these orgs are ever going to be signed to other orgs, because Brother Code needs to be put on a better team, because that man dropped 30 kills. No, he dropped 40 kills on Capture the Flag, which is a game mode for those of you that don't know. Well, you have like a 5-second respawn time. You don't instant respawn back. It's like even longer. Like this man is in Elo hell. Like he needs a good team for it. He needs to make it a Saudi at least.
I think that was one of like out of the games I was able to watch. That was one of the things that I noticed the most, where you see like the most talented players in BR, right? The guys who you'd consider just raw skill talent. Guys like Cold is a perfect example of that. They were just continually the guys who were doing incredibly well, dropping the most kills every single game. It's almost like being an incredibly talented player carries over to multiple different areas.
Wild.
Crazy thought process,
who would have
right?
thought,
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? It was interesting for me, because I think one of the big like things that was like entertaining to me was like having those certain team dynamics, like having the guy who like you sort of rely on to have those big moments. Or I didn't actually watch the groups because it was Champions League final day. And so obviously had to get my priorities straight and watch the Champions League final. But yeah, you sort of already touched on it, Boop. There was a bit of drama around like how this actually went down. So like, what was that? What did happen?
So we were talking about competitive formats. This is our first real touch with the competitive format for once. And we set up the Swiss stage for seeding. We were going crazy. All the teams, they did well. They were at the top. All the bad teams were at the bottom. All the teams were going to be in a good spot. And then Quanti came in and ruined everything. Quanti, so there were 2 big pieces of drama this weekend. First, and it started and it developed because of Quanti. So what Quanti did in this weekend is, after the Swiss stages, this man went onto Muzz's PC, downloaded all of Muzz's replay files, sent it to himself in Discord, deleted the message. He came in with a great heist, and then he left so that they can go and VOD their games. Now, the issue is with Quanti is we're living in an age of smartphones. So there's a guy that was behind that was recording everything, saw him on his PC, saw him smiling on the PC, legs dangling from the chair, and he walked away afterwards. And like it was posted on Twitter, like there's ops in the building, and they sent it on Twitter. The admin saw it happen. And then they, they're like, damn, what do we do now with Agent? How are we going to punish them? And the logical explanation for the admins was, you know what? We're going to make them go down into losers bracket. Now, the issue with doing that is now every other team doesn't want to play them anymore in the next round in playoffs because of how seeding works. Is basically the team that wins upper bracket in the group stages, or the team that's first in group stages, will play against the teams that get second in group stages. So all the good teams that are first didn't want to play against Agent, and I would assume like all of them started to complain, and essentially it gave Agent like an easier way through into the playoffs because they didn't really care who played. And then the admins thought, you know what? Okay, how do we solve this issue? How do we solve this issue? Okay, we're gonna get every single team to send one representative into the admin room, and we're all gonna go there. And there was a great fucking shot from Aussie's stream where like there was a guy standing in front of the curtain like this, like bodyguarding the curtain. Like, no cameras, and they had to check. Are you from this team? Okay, you can come in. They open the curtains up like it's a fucking general election in the United States, and they close it back up, and then Aussie pan the camera around the curtain, and there was even 16 people. They're like 30 people in this little back corner behind the curtain, and they're sitting in the discussion and arguing, and they came to the consensus of, you know what, we're gonna randomize the seeds. We're not gonna go with the format that we had prior. We're gonna randomize the seeds. And you know how we're gonna do that? We're gonna open up fucking Bing on the main monitor, and we'll do a number between 1 and 16, and then we're gonna randomize it that way. And then there's this group of people sitting there at the screen looking at this Bing thing, like, oh, is it me next? Is it me next? And they finally had the seeding happen. And then some teams got screwed, some teams didn't get screwed, and that was the Bing incident of 2024. There you go.
I want to interject here. I opened up Boop stream maybe 15 times throughout the course of the weekend just to check on what's happening whilst I was moving. I think once out of those 15 times I saw a game, and the other moment was this, and I was like, what? What is this tournament, bro? I was like, I opened up to just seeing Bing on the screen in a random number generator. Like, what is this Mickey Mouse tournament? What truly, I'm not gonna lie, what an awful decision. Like the punishment was giving them an easier bracket. Great. Yeah. That was a good choice. I don't know, like I think in that decision you have to almost punish them in the finals, not in the playoffs. If that's the way, or you either disqualify them, or if they make it to the finals, you put them then in lower brackets rather than the other way around, something like that. So there's less of a chance. But I don't know. It's like there was not a good solution whatsoever.
The thing is, I felt like the tournament other than that was like fine. Like, it was great to run tournament, by the way. Please invite me back. But like the admins just need to grow. They need to grow a little bit of a spine when it comes to Fortnite players, because Fortnite players are the biggest dickhead you ever meet. Like, as someone that owns scrims, Fortnite players are like 16-year-old millionaires that are gonna be in your face. They're gonna be annoying. They'll constantly message you. They'll constantly press you to do stuff. And like you just kind of gotta grow a spine. Like, yo, I'm sorry. This is what's gonna happen. This is what we did beforehand. This is how it's gonna be. And like there was a few times in the tournament where like that just didn't happen. And I probably because of people pressuring them, or like maybe is the org aspect of like, hey, we're a partner at ESL org. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, how are you guys screwing us over? Like, they didn't want that drama for the first tournament, I think. And like, drama makes things good too. Like if Agent was disqualified, holy shit, here comes the drama. You know, this is a great storyline for when they make it to Saudi inevitably, and then you have things to talk about. Like, I think something could have done better there for sure.
Yeah, it was weird because I think in many ways there was like a lot of situations where you could really tell that this is like the first of its kind, where like people didn't know how to react, where you would have expected, at least on like the Dreamhack or ESL side, that they've, even if they don't have experience with Fortnite, they have experience with running tournaments of this nature where you have Swiss stage and brackets and groups and something like this. It's a very small thing, but another thing that I noticed where I was like, that's a bit weird, was the actual grand finals, right? Typically when you have a format where you have like upper and lower bracket, the team that gets to grand finals has from the upper bracket has some sort of an advantage over the lower bracket team, right? Maybe they start with one map up, or maybe you make it so they have to lose twice or something. It was just that we get to grand finals and there was no reward for Falcons for being the upper bracket winning team. It's like, yeah, we're in the finals and you just play them, and if you lose, you lose. It's like, wait, hold on a minute.
They didn't lose a single time up until that point as well, right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so there should have been some sort of advantage for them where it was like, okay, you start at least one map up, or they have to beat you twice at the end. It's like, but there was nothing, right? And those are like small little things where you'd be like, you know, you would have thought they would have had those things sort of in place. But again, learning experience, learning opportunity for those people to sort of get that right.
I mean, all in all, it was like all in all, like the tournament itself, like there was a bit of delays. Things took a little bit long, but like it's you can expect it when it's a start, and like it does help, I think, having people that are experienced on the ground. I think like a lot of the issues that stems from ESL most of the time just comes from lack of experience in the Fortnite community. You know, like if they had people like, you know, the guys that did broadcast, like Elocrats there, like those guys have experience in this. Like they, even though they aren't players or they aren't management, they would be able to give advice on things that they know about because they know the community pretty well. All it takes is a bit of, you know, a strong foot, maybe is the right word to put it there. But yeah, I mean, it was. I think there's a future for this game mode, which we'll probably talk about in a little bit too. So
yes, I do want to look at some of the matchups quickly and get some of your thoughts on them, Boop. So obviously, when we got to playoffs, it was interesting because one thing that I will give this whole tournament a lot of credit for was that like that aspect of the matchups between different teams and knowing you were going to face this team down the line, and like some of the clutch moments we had to bring series back, and like that was everything that like I wanted out of this mode, and like it felt like it really delivered. Like there was actually a lot of hype, actually a lot of excitement, actually a lot of like interesting narratives with matchups, right? I think instantly you see here at like the top left, if I like zoom in a bit because it might be hard for people to see. The top left of upper bracket round one was just like, oh my god, you have like at the tournament like some of the best teams here, and they're all gonna like, you know, clash rather early on. Falcons versus Heroic, that was a very interesting one because there was a bit of drama behind that one as well, right? Where
slightly,
it was like Falcons had won, but then it was like they had won on like OT or like a tie break, so they thought like so they thought that the players didn't know what the tiebreak was the problem.
So again, it was one of those things where we didn't know exactly what the rule was, right? Like maybe there was like a rule set somewhere, like there had to be a book somewhere to explain all this stuff. But basically, in one of the maps, it's capture the flag. For those of you that don't know what capture the flag is, you try to capture the flag. Boom. But essentially, at the end of the time, so you have 2 5-minute rounds, and if the score is tied at the end of the 5-minute round, you go into overtime, which is another 5 minutes. If the end of overtime, none of the other teams have captured flag, because that's basically golden goal or golden flag, then we go to tiebreaker. Now, the entire weekend, nobody knew what the tiebreaker was in order to win that map. I asked the people, so all of the production team of ESL was in my chat. Shout out to them. They did a great job. But those guys had to ask the production, they had to add the admins, and the admins told them the answer. But then on the ground, the players asked the admins, and they gave them a different answer. And I still don't know what it is, but apparently it is most kills wins overtime tiebreaker, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the people didn't know that beforehand, and then they basically advanced Falcons to the next round. But then Heroic was like, hold on a second, because Drew was in my chat, and he was like messaging them the whole time. Drew's a Danish content creator, for those who don't know, and essentially he was like messaging like, yo, I think you guys won, and then like the Falcons like, yeah, the Heroic is the cringiest people on earth.
Count the kills.
Count the kills. What's the thing, like recount or whatever, like whatever the political. Stop the count. That was it. Stop the count. We gotta stop this. But like, there was a bit of drama on that hand. The other matchup of Xep versus Agent Gaming was also great because of the Quanti drama. It almost felt a little bit manufactured, perhaps.
Well, like, so I was gonna ask you because I had this written down in like the thing. Is obviously there was like a lot of like trash talk. And I don't know how many people saw the clips. I wish I could bring one up, but it was just if you missed it, it was essentially people just going, you're trash, sit down,
Okay.
you can't text me.
People, you're talking about one person specifically. Also, the way you change your voice.
I don't want to, I got to stay impartial here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Slightly.
Do you though?
It was basically a lot of agent gaming. Let's just say that. Agent gaming, but also XZ and
Canada was talking. Canada was talking a lot as well. Canada, when Dig was still, involved, Canada was talking quite a bit, specifically to Thomas as well, which I actually like that a lot because again, they have like some
storyline
history. Yeah, like that's cool to me. But in terms of like some of the trash talking, yeah, like it was. I don't want to say it was getting intense because I thought, personally, from my POV, I thought some of it was quite light. It's like, yeah, like we just won, so we're screaming "F you," blah blah blah. I like the obviously Peterbot was going at Clicks a lot. Obviously, Clicks wasn't playing for Exit, but Clicks is like co-owner of Exit, all of that. He was there sort of as their content creator rep or whatever, and like Peter was doing a lot of talking to Clicks. And I believe they had given them a warning, right? Like the admins at the tournament had actually warned these guys and told them, hey, like none of that.
So they allowed them to go through the first day without much, and then the second day as well. And then on the third day, we were watching. I was like, oh, why isn't Peterbot calling people R words and like everything else? We're like, why is he going crazy right now? And then like apparently, so this was actually a rule that was also before at the initial Gamers 8 tournament back in the zero builds. Is like if you talk shit about the admins. Which is why we'll talk about some of the tweets people made as well. If you talk shit about the admins, if you talk shit about the tournament, if you talk shit about your other opponents, if you swear or like do other toxic stuff to your opponents, you will get a prize reduction, essentially. So like you will lose a percentage of your prize pool. And then back in Gamers 8, it was like it starts first infraction was like 5% of your prize pool, and then like 10%, and then like 25%, and then like disqualification after that. So essentially, they were threatened with the prospect of their prize pool being removed if they continued shit talking. Which, on one hand, personal insults, like talking about how people look and all that stuff, okay, maybe a little bit too far. But like screaming across the room, you're dog shit, you're ass, fuck you, Clicks. Like you multi-million, you bought this team and you're losing. Like that's great. Like I love that. I think that's an essential part of LAN. And like if you've never been to a LAN before, you don't. The energy in a LAN like that is awesome. Like it's so fun to be there and to be involved in people screaming because, like, it's fun. It's competition. Twitter only gets so far. So.
Yeah, I think like I think the one part of that was where I think you nailed on the head the difference between shit talking someone, being like "fuck you, you fucking suck," and moving on to like, hey, like there was like in those big rants, there were so many of the Asian people be like, "fuck you, Muzz, you fat piece of shit." Like, like that.
Shout out to Muzz, bro. Friend of the show. We love you,
in the
Muzz.
chat, by the way, as well.
Muzz
Muzz.
one of my favorite players, man. I'm like, that's not good shit talk. It's just that's also just it's just now you're just like cringe as fuck as well. Like there's a make it good shit talk at the same time. Like a lot of it was, but then a lot of them were ended up being on like the personal side of things where I sit and I go like, you're not in good. This isn't in good. What's the word? In good spirits anymore.
Good,
in a sense.
In good
this
faith.
is just cheap and shit, basically. So
Canada had good shit talk. Canada's like, I'm dropping 30 on your asses. Fuck you, Thomas. Like,
you can't handle me here. You can't handle me in Copenhagen. You can't handle me anywhere. Like that's me.
That's good. See, that's
when I saw that clip, I put my hands up. I said, Thomas, you might be right, bro. Maybe you can't handle him. I was like, oh shit. Like, that is like good. Like I think like that is fine. That is like spirit of competition. It 100%. Creates rivalries because now next time we see Thomas HD come up against Canada, it means just that bit more. Like there's more depth to it. There's more layers to it. Even on the reverse side of things, when we had people shit talking, then they lost. Like I remember there was like I think somebody
like Canada, mate.
But I think there was like there was a clip of Peter where someone had like put it together where like they put him shit talking. Then after they had lost, he was just quiet.
It was Canada. That was the
Canada. And I'm like,
heroic. That tweeted that. I believe. Yeah.
I'm like, that is what chef's kiss. That is perfect. Like, yes, thank you. Now you're quiet. It's like, I think it's fine. I think the problem then becomes like how are we policing it, and if the line is okay, things just aren't. We can't talk about things that are personal. Then I think maybe that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
I think, but I don't think suppressing it, is a good solution. I think we should allow people to express themselves, but you know, again, just making sure we're staying on a certain line of like, is this a personal attack that is, you know, unfounded or whatever, or is this like about what just happened and what you just did? Like, there's a big difference.
It's also in its infancy, right? Like you need to create those storylines. Like you notice very quickly the shift in like the viewership dynamic, at least for my stream. Like when we were watching it, like people day one was like, okay, what is this? Like it's kind of boring. But then like day number 2, day number 3 was like, fuck you, NA, fuck you, X. Like, it was great. Like people were getting into it, and I think like ESL did a great job. Like the whole org aspect of it, it no longer became, oh my god, it's Taysom versus Malibu. It's like, okay, it is Falcons versus Casey, it's versus Exa, it's versus Age. Like the rivalry's already it's already started. Like, and then watching like other tournaments after the fact, I was like, man, this shit's boring, man. Like, give me some more of that ESL stuff. Like, this was great. Like, people love it.
Rivalry. You need rivalry.
Rivalry is good. Everyone needs rivalry for sure.
Rivalry is definitely good. I mean, if this is gonna be like what this can give us, and it's understandable why people want a lot more of it. When it comes to, pardon me, sorry. When it comes to ESL, then obviously we had Falcons sort of just roll through everyone. Falcons just far and away sort of look like the best team in a lot of their matchups. It's funny because when you asked, you know, people, especially in EU beforehand, like who were the best teams, most people were just saying, yeah, it's Falcons. Yeah, it's Falcons. Down on the lower bracket side of things, though, we obviously saw. I do want to highlight this KC versus Twisted Mind game. Obviously, KC went through 2-1. Big shout out to Twisted Minds for what was an insane comeback. They were losing Capture the Flag. I think they were down 3 flags to 0 on Capture the Flag. And in like the last couple minutes, they get 3 straight flags in a row, take it to overtime, win. And then obviously they took it to a match 3, which they ended up losing. But I mean, that comeback again was like a big example of like where this mode shines. Like everybody was so hype for that moment that was watching. It was like you were watching it thinking, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Which was really fun.
It was surprising how many of those close moments we had. Like we had like two point flag, 2 points in hard point going down to the final wire in that Falcons versus I don't remember. I think it was maybe Casey. I don't remember, but like the game matches and the map, the like it's good when the two teams are very like close and like it's very close. But like for like day one Swiss, like people just stomp. Like you can very quickly see how bad a team is, like based on their scores. But like those top matches, oh my god, they're so good to watch. They're so good to watch.
100%. It's funny because you know, Clutch here in chat said Twisted Man overperformed the fuck out of this tournament, beating Digger and taking Casey all the way as well. I hope they don't mind me saying this, but I was so surprised because I was locked into ESL a bit towards the start when it was getting earlier, and I like sort of was focused on FNCS and other stuff. And I was surprised to see the Twisted Minds lineup with Pink and Queasy, because I remember there was a point. It was after, for people who don't know, Queasy was originally on that Falcons team, right? And then they dropped him and got Yapko. And I remember after that had happened, you know, at that time, I remember having a conversation with Pink and Queasy where they were both almost saying like, yeah, we're just not going to go. Like, we can't get a team. Like, you know, what do we do? All the best players are unavailable now. And I remember like thinking, damn, maybe these guys just aren't going to play it. And obviously they still stuck with it. They decided to play with each other, picked up Ziandi, got Della as well, and did very well. Like, you know, they were very close in moments, you know, to being able to qualify, you know, to the World Cup. So
surprisingly well, yeah.
Yeah, no, big shout out to them.
That's when I saw that team immediately, I just kind of had a giggle because I was like, this is one of those teams where it's like all the good players are gone and you're like, we have like good like solo and individual players and we're just going to put them all on one team and just kind of hope for the best with like, you know, it's like a team you would never expect. Like that season where Andalex duoed with Diox, like where like, you know, it's just like, it's just the circumstances give you like the most random teams ever. So yeah, to perform as well as they did was really cool.
No, that was nice.
It was surprising to see them also get signed to Twisted because I remember Pink tweeted like, I'm looking for a squad and OXR is gonna like sign and we're gonna have a salary team. all that stuff, and then they ended up getting signed to Twisted, which was pretty surprising. But yeah, it was like the mismatched team. But like Pink tried it with a bunch of people, couldn't really figure out what team was good. They always they didn't do that well in the online qualifiers when they played together, or like the online tournaments they played together. So they gave up. It seemed like Queasy got kicked from the Falcons team. Ziandi was looking like maybe one of like the better players when it comes to ESL. At least when
he was playing with Pink a lot.
Yeah. When I was playing 8, like that guy was like one of the best players. He was just constantly top fragging. Yeah, his aim is ridiculous, and he's also a CS player as well. On top of that, which don't know how much overlap there is.
I think people
that,
put too much stock in that, but
it's more like Call of Duty than CS:GO at that point. And then Della, who isn't. I mean, Della's a very good comp player, but he's not considered like one of Sweden's best. He's like one of those creative players, but he came in very good as a sniper as well. Probably the best player on that team,
I'd say,
if I do say so myself. But like a bit of a mismatched team. Came in with no expectations. Did relatively well. If they had a different bracket run, they probably would have been in Saudi already. If they had maybe the same bracket as Big, for example, like just RNG, and maybe they'll make it through to the online qualifiers because I believe. I mean, how many teams qualified? 4 EU teams qualified, I believe, to the LAN. So
I think
Falcons, KC, Heroic, and Big, yeah. So 4 EU teams. So there's not much EU teams left that are good, I would say.
True. I think mentioning on Della is an interesting fact that this game mode has that BR doesn't really, is that it does allow controller players to shine a little bit more. Like, we already mentioned Della and Okus as prime examples.
Controller?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like Okus, Teeny, obviously, I mean, he's been doing good as well. Like, there's obviously a lot more controller players who've been doing a lot better in this mode for obvious reasons, right? Yeah. In this kind of environment, is set up perfectly for it.
Apparently he's not.
Chat saying you're wrong, Resub. Chat saying that is.
Hold on, let me check.
This is an uncommon Resub L for once.
I was gonna say everything on his.
Resub usually knows all.
Maybe PlayStation Cups.
Oh, maybe that's why. I swear it was. Let me see. Oh, what's this? Let me see a highlight video.
It's also while you're looking at that, it's also surprising to see the lack of some people not playing it. Oh, he is. Okay.
Take it back then.
There you go. Where's Cammy in all of this? Like, why is Cammy not playing? Like, where's Poyo or like some of the other bigger players? Like, Booger's too rich, but like
Yomzo's not playing
Yomzo, Rise, Savage and Mongo probably don't care that much because they're also too rich. But like, you know, surprising that Cammy's particularly after winning last Zero build, I'm not playing it.
Well, Blood in chat just said Cammy didn't find the motivation to play it. When I had asked him about it, he just seemed very like, I don't really care for this. Which again just seems weird because I could see him being pretty good in this type of mode. But
I mean, Yapko did well, so yeah.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one because there's a bunch of players who I think probably got a bit unlucky with maybe just not getting on the right team or not being in the right circle at the time when people were forming their teams, right? And it's like, it was one of those things where if you weren't like really pushing for it, like, you probably just aren't too bothered. And also just like similar to what ended up happening with Queasy and Pink, where it's like, once a lot of those top players are picked up by other teams, you're sorry looking at going, I can't build a team that's going to win, so I don't give a fuck. Like, unfortunately, that's how it sort of probably felt for a lot of those guys. So yeah, that is how the cookie sort of crumbled.
I would have been really interested to see actually some of the more OG Fortnite players who fell off, or not fell off. Actually, this is going to sound bad, who I'm going to mention in a second. But like, say the players who right now,
the same person.
Say like Savage and Mongrel. That's not the way I meant to put this, right? And like, say Mitro is more I was thinking of while I was saying that, but Savage was the example, right? So like a lot of these players, Savage Mongrel are the ones obviously who are still currently playing, but say like Mitro. Maybe even Tifu. I don't know. Like a lot of these guys
Tifu would be good in this. Yeah.
Like imagine how they would play in something like this where there's no building. I wonder what their skills would like, how they would actually fare up in now.
I feel like the commercial aspect to it might also be like dissuading to like someone like Tifu. Like unless they're paying me, I ain't playing this shit. That's probably the attitude they probably go to.
When you're in that bracket of like richness and fame, you don't need it as much.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, there's one player that came back to it, Lame. I mean, Lame wasn't like a top Fortnite pro in any regard, but like he quit the game for Valorant, now came back to Fortnite, and Capybara is the team that he played in, ended up being probably like one of the top 8 teams at that LAN. They took a game from like some pretty big teams at that LAN. So definitely a team I think that probably will end up qualifying online or get signed by an org.
The person who I was thinking about when you were saying that, Reese, was Sizlucky. Sizlucky, he's not been, competing at the highest level of comp for a while. Obviously, he came back and played last year with DGen a bit. But even before he came back and played with DGen a bit, he like wasn't playing the game at all for like a year before that as well. So it's like he came back, he's on Fnatic, which is one of the better NA teams, and like they're, he's repping Fnatic. I don't know if they actually signed, but I think now they qualled for Saudi, they are actually signed now. I don't know the whole situation, but basically, yeah, guys like Sizlucky, guys like that who are like people who used to be, prominent in the comp scene, people who are clearly just like good gamers, right? And so like, you come back, you pick this thing up, and you're already familiar with Fortnite a bit. You have some decent connections and friendships to guys who are still top players in Fortnite. So maybe you can actually sneak yourself on like a really good team because you're still friends with the guy who is now the guy in the scene. So yeah, man, I definitely, I think we had this conversation at FNtasia where it's like, at what point, like, how far can you even go with that? Is there like some Apex Legends pros who maybe, you like get them back in this, who used to play Fortnite? Because a lot of them are like that. I didn't actually realize as much, but like there's a lot of Apex pros or people who are like prominent Apex pros now who like played Fortnite like and tried to play competitively in like chapter 1.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Right, okay,
There's like
I thought you meant like now,
No, not now, but like back then, like they were like prominent, like they were let's say if we were doing the whole like they were like tier 2, tier 3, like NA people who like ended up switching to Apex and now they're like top Apex pros. It's like, some of those guys, at what point do they go, oh, let's try this, maybe.
Yeah.
Like it could be that depending on how like this whole ESL thing gets scaled and how big of a deal it is. But yeah, we will see. Yeah. Someone in chat just said that Imperial How played comp in chapter 1. And for people who don't know Imperial How, he is like actually, I don't know. I don't want to make a comparison and someone who's an Apex fan says I'm wrong, but like he's like the big dog in Apex comp, He's like if Clix actually won tournaments is I think the comparison to make. Shout out to Clix. All right. So then in terms of I think we highlighted the teams that who have gone through, right? Or have we not? Essentially, Apex. So I'm saying Apex. Falcons went through. Agent went through because they obviously made it to the final. Heroic qualified through to Saudi as well. Big obviously qualified to Saudi. A bit controversial. Some people said they had a bit of an easier bracket, which I think is fair. They did definitely have an easier bracket. Carmine Court went through, playing with Anas, who was a standing, but Anas will not be playing with them in Saudi. They're gonna play with Swizzy. Swizzy just couldn't come to Dallas because he had visa issues. Unlucky Anas, but at the same time, it's Anas, man. He don't care.
And that's just gets his bag and goes. Like, he just somehow just fits into. He's the most like jack of all trades player I've ever seen in everything, man. It's so good.
He's the one I thought would literally be perfect for this game mode as well.
No, 100%. I remember the day like when it was like the first day when people were like, okay, we gotta get our rosters together. I remember being in the call with BloodX and he was literally telling all like the pros that were in that call, play with Anas, pick up Anas. Anas is good. Like get Anas, he will be perfect for this. Because you just need that guy who's like gonna make minimal mistakes, not gonna clutter the comms, doesn't have too much of an ego, composed on LAN, has experience. Like he just has the perfect blend of like what you need in like a role player for a mode like this. So I'd love to see Anas get picked up by a team that ends up going, either through online qualifiers or whatever happens. But shout out to Anas. And then the last team was Qual was Fnatic, right? That's 6.
Fnatic.
Yeah. So 4 EU, 2 NA, and I mean, I guess when you look at that, the most controversial thing I guess you look at in terms of teams who missed out would probably be Exet. Exet was the team that was dominating NA the most. You asked anybody before the tournament, who do you think will qualify? Exet was definitely one of them. You ask anybody who, sort of, has been following like NA closely, very closely through the phase of tournaments, they would have said, yeah, Exet will qual easily. They didn't quite qual. They had quite a tough, sort of run in the bracket stage. They ended up playing Agent, who beat them, and then they go down to the lower bracket and they have to play Stride, who they beat, but Stride obviously a decent NA team, and then they have to play Heroic in the next round, who are one of the better EU teams, and Heroic best them there.
They didn't win the games where it mattered, pretty much. They beat Heroic beforehand in the Swiss stages, but they couldn't beat them when it came to the elimination match. So I guess that's just maybe a lack of adaptability. I saw an interesting tweet. I don't remember who tweeted. I think maybe it was Rituals. It was like, we came in as the best team and we're out in 7th. Oh, GG's. Which I thought was an interesting tweet because, like, if you're out in 7th, then you're clearly not going to be the best team coming in, right? It's like, you don't know if you're the best team coming. Maybe you're the best NA team coming in, but like in terms of all the teams, like you just don't know because we've never had interregion play yet. So as usual, EU came in as the best team, as obvious by the amount of qualification players and teams coming through. So at a real LAN for once, not a Mickey Mouse LAN.
Yeah.
Just had to put that out there real quick.
Hey, speaking of, shout out to my goat Tayson, man. Finally gets his LAN win, I mean, so I'm claiming this. In the GOAT debates,
100%.
In the GOAT debates, I'm claiming this, bro.
Mira has nothing on this win.
Mira, what?
When people talk about Cammy, they're like, yeah, but he won Gamers 8 as well. He's won a LAN there. Obviously, they won another LAN as well. But they always mention it. So why can we not mention this for Tayson too?
We're claiming this, bro. I've never seen Tayson smile so much in my life.
One picture. That's it.
One picture that he had was smiling. Yeah. The funniest part is there was a video of when he won, right? Like, and this is his reaction when he won. That's it. That's all he did. He didn't celebrate. He didn't stand up. He took off his headset slowly, wiped the NA shit from his hands after being there, and then shook his hand of his teammate. And that's it. Done. Like he was so cold with it.
Shout out to Tayson, man. Shout out to Falcons. That team was really good. I mean, there were a lot of like standout moments from all of them. It's weird. I think as we get to Esports World Cup now and at the event, I think there'll be more like in-depth conversations about like, what players are most important. I really wish we had a easier way of accessing like stats and information about like who's performing on what maps, just because it would be good. Like when it comes to my memory, there's a bunch of different players who I recall having big moments. So obviously there was a bunch of times with Falcons, for example. I remember Tayson just had big moments where like he's on the hill, 1v2, 1v3, and he just wins. I remember Heroic, there was a bunch of moments like with Thomas as well. Della on Twisted Minds was someone who, stood out to me as having a bunch of big moments. Agent, a lot of them had, all of them had their big individual moments, right? Okis was crazy consistent. I remember Peterbot as a sniper, there'd be a couple times where he'd like 180 snipe someone, 180 again, snipe the next guys running onto the hill, snipe it. Like, a bunch of these players had, crazy moments. Was there anyone individually that stood out to you, Boop, as like the guy?
See, it might be a bit of like maybe like recency bias because like the grand finals, but I think Tayson was probably the guy overall. Like it's either for me, it was either Tayson or Yapko, right? Because like Tayson had like his grand finals performance was like a GOAT status, maybe. Like he was like dropping 33 on hardpoint against a very good team. But like Yapko, I think throughout the tournament just felt like one of the most consistent players, like constantly hitting snipes, constantly. There was never a game where he was bad. Chicha also comes to mind, where he would also go crazy. But like the problem is some of these roles are also magnifying performances, right? Like the role Chicho plays is one of the best roles. It has the burst SMG, does some of the most damage. It's
you're
the one way
you're getting fragging.
Yeah, you're supposed to be fragging. You're supposed to be the high kill player. The player that plays medic, for example, is the one that's going to be lower kills on flag because they're sitting on the point, they're hiding there, they're doing all that stuff. So like I'd say MVP would probably go to Tayson overall just because of that grand finals performance. But like the entire Falcon squad, I think every single person in that team had their shining moments, had that moment where like, okay, this is a solid squad. They didn't have weak links as I saw with some of the other teams. I'm not gonna name names, but like,
I think that's one area where like things need to evolve, and hopefully that will evolve as like coverage gets better of these things, because I want to have a conversation about that as well, where in like a game like CS, and CS is always the game I use just because it's a game that I like came from, so I know it better. But like in CS, you have an understanding of someone plays this role, so they're going to have amplified stats or worse stats in this category, right? So like entry fraggers in CS often have a lot more deaths, naturally, just because it's like, you know, but if they don't have a lot of deaths, if they have more kills, then you're going, wait, he's like the god level edge, like he's just not dying.
They're doing the job,
right? Or like, you know, a lot of the times your AWP player is going to be the guy who's just like, because you're setting him up to be in the best positions because he's got the best gun, so he's going to have the most kills, right? Or, you know, back in the day, I remember like, you know, early comp CSGO, it was like the lurkers were always the ones who had like the most frags a lot of the time, right? Because it's like they're baiting everyone, so of course they're going to have the better KD ratios and stuff like that. And you know, we have similar dynamics in this ESL mode because of, like you said, like certain roles. You know, if you're the guy that bursts SMG, yeah, you should have a bunch of kills. Like, you know, so I think as that, like, as people, the audience gets a better understanding of that, it becomes easier to actually have context of like who's actually bossing it right now, like who's actually having the highest impact in these games. And on that, let's
oh, sorry, go for it. I was going to say just one note on that. Before people become actually aware of who's doing good and before stats come out, we need to have a conversation about the fact that Teeny might be the best 2024 player.
Who would have thought? Yeah,
who would have thought? Right?
Yeah.
We don't know how what was he doing in ESL? Don't know. Because we can't have to see the stats. Just look at the placements. First here, second in FNCS Grands. It might be the year of Teeny.
Player of the year status,
potentially. Player of the year right here.
We'll see.
So one of the issues I think you highlight very well, Levin, is that like there's an obvious issue with the game mode being in creative, right? Like we saw that first of all on the first day of Swiss and group stage as well with like the spectating capabilities. Like the minimap just doesn't work. You can't see the minimap. And I told the guys out in production, like, oh dude, for the finals and like the day 3, like what if you guys have like a top down view with your spectator client where you can see like everything on the map? Day 3 came out, boom, they implement that shit. You know, it was enjoyable to watch. You could see the context, especially with Capture the Flag. You say, oh, okay, there's a lurk coming from Quanti. Oh, Malibuca's hiding in that corner. You can see the plays happening in real time, which you couldn't in day number 1. So there was like a stark difference between day 1 and day 2. And like it starts with the stats as well. It's also gonna be really, really tough to look at because like I don't think you can like take out the stats from creative that easy as you can with like battle royale, like things like Sarian is doing.
What you need to do for that is essentially you need to have a live spec in the game, and you can use them as an account to parse all the data live.
Interesting. Okay.
So for example, you can actually do that in battle royale, where for example, if you had your account, don't do this by the way, they will not like it. But say if you were one of the spectator accounts in FNCS Grand Finals, your account could be used to pull all the data that's going on and like say for example create a 3D live map where you should be able to interact with that I asked for 4 years ago and then Epic never implemented. But anyway, you know, you could create like live stats and all that. That's how you essentially do that. So for something like creative, it is doable, but there just needs to be like implementation of that. I don't know if you can do that in creative at the minute, but that's like how they would end up doing it.
Like, the analysis will make it interesting though.
Yeah. Because the one problem I've always had with BR was that like there's no good rating metrics that you can really come up with. Obviously, like it's become very popular nowadays to like use damage ratio. Yeah. But like damage ratio has instant flaws. There's too much context that you need for it to be meaningful, right?
On fight, everything.
Right. Like there's so much of it that's just like doesn't actually give you an accurate indication
the best players.
Of who the best player, right? Whereas like with a mode like this where it's more contained, there's rounds, like, you know, hopefully you'd be able to come up with some sort of actual good rating system that could genuinely tell us who is the best player, who is the second best player, who's the third best player, based off of ratings.
Even damage ratio in this instance is significantly better than in Battle Royale, but it is like role specific. But if you could just categorize it by role, right? Where you're like, oh, he's you know, whatever the fuck rules are. I forgot
damage, medic.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, it is a good instance in that, but I think both Battle Royale and Creative really struggle with that. And, like, that's why all analysis for a lot of new people and people try to do it is just, like, based on placements, right? Like, which is the result of the analysis, not the actual, like, how good they played.
There's a lot of possibility with that as well. Like, I would love to see, like, heat maps on the map and where people are getting the most kills, like, how...
Going to Syrian then, bro. That's there.
Yeah, I mean, but just
We're
for
talking about ESL. We're talking about
sorry. Yes, you're correct. You're correct.
Even for like FNtasia Grand Finals would be great. Like, okay, this is where Venom is getting the most surge in this game. Like, this is a key point of impact that other teams might need to look at. Like things like that, I think have a lot of possibility. And like, I mean, the money's there for it, right? So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't invest time and into it. And like, and on top of that, like viewership was great. Like I never looked at my own stats. I hate looking at viewership numbers myself, but like I was seeing other people on
every streamer does it. Why are we capping?
No, actually, on everything,
let's be honest with you.
On everything, I have not looked at my viewer count for the last year. And anytime someone talks about it, I always ban them in chat. Like, I don't want to look at it. I don't care. Like I hate looking at it. I even like my grand final stats. I don't look at like how many views I have in grand finals because like it affects like the way that you like stream and cast and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But like over like when I look, I was like, okay, hold on a second. I'm looking at Aussie and he has like 7,000 viewers watching it, for example. I was like, okay, that means that then I would have it. Yeah. I look at like how many people do predictions in my chat. That's my metric of like how good is the stream going, pretty much.
That's a good one actually.
So
that's like active viewers.
Like,
well.
Okay, if there's 100 people doing the prediction, I probably have at least 1,000 viewers plus, right? Like if there's 50 people, then I have this many viewers. But like the viewership was good. So like now ESL can take these numbers and be like, okay, do we invest time into a broadcast? Do we invest time into co-streamers? You know, do we invite these people out to Saudis? Wink, wink. Are we doing anything else like possible in this scenario that will grow this into a healthy esports? I don't see any reason why not to. I mean, they'll contend on losing money, but you know, I mean, they're not gaining money from this. Let's be honest.
I mean, they're spending a lot. I don't know if spending's the concern of these people. I would say like
hide my chat real quick. There you go. Okay.
I would say I really enjoyed watching all the co-streams. I you know, not as a dig to any of the viewing parties, but a lot of the best moments for me personally were watching Jacob PR just because he was like actually casting it like the whole weekend, like as if it was like a thing. And what that instantly showed me, and I saw a couple people like tweeting and saying this, was like this mode with like people like commentating it would be insanely fun to like listen to and watch. And it'd make those like viewing parties like a lot better as well if you also add the extra hype of like, you know, commentators, you know, bringing their energy to some of those moments. I mean, of course, they had like the people who flew in and like did like the sort of clean feeds, which was nice. And like you said, I loved the observing and what some of the things they did in the finals was spectacular. Like some of the angles they had, the shots they had in, what they did with the map. Like, there's clearly so much things we can do here to like make the viewing experience for this like a lot better.
You can tell they understood the game mode too. Like they gave like context of like people around them when they're running the flag and stuff. Like they did a great job. They did a really good job.
Do you want to know how they live spec'd some of the earlier games? So because obviously they ran a lot of them at once, and there's not very many people there. So they did this, right? I'm not even joking. Like it's because like you know you just switch between perspectives because and that was it. Because like you had one person, there's no wides, there's no. It's literally because you have like one person per game. So yeah, that was funny. But I think one thing that was interesting on the difference is that so the plain feed by itself from the games I watched, I was like, if this just had more to it, you don't even need like co-streamers to start with, right? If you put voice chat, which would be difficult because obviously it depends which team you're watching and things like that. But I'm trying to imagine like seeing comms in those moments where I'm watching. It would depend how they're switching between the teams and all this kind of stuff. But that with face cams and like a map overlay all the time, like they had in finals, that alone would have been amazing. Now, obviously, there's like language barriers to those kind of things because it depends where the teams come from, how they communicate and things like that. But for me, as soon as I saw the first live feed, I was like, shit, that would be so good to watch. Because then you're almost just watching their stream perspective, but as 4 POVs where you could switch between them, which I thought would be really sick. Then I thought, again, the same thing with the casting that goes over the top of it, if there was like a separate feed for that. And I was like, if you just had those 2 feeds, that would actually be so good to watch. And I could like maybe, I want to watch my team, and there's just like one guy watching one team, and you can watch the stream for Fnatic, or I could go to the XS stream and watch this one and hear all the comms from there, and I could just jump between those, or I could watch the broadcast, which has casting on it, and it kind of more watches both the teams, and there's a blend of both of them without the communications, or unless you want to like mix it in or somehow. And I was like, that would be a really good viewing experience as a spectator.
I think the big thing with that is, in terms of, I think you've struggled to be able to do comms all throughout. But that's where you'd hope that, like, if they were to have like more of just a regular like feed, you could incorporate moments. So like some of those like big comeback moments, like I would have loved to have heard the comms during like an intense like that, like Twisted Minds comeback on KC. Like you could hear like the final comms from like those moments when they're making the calls, like, oh, he's on the flag, you know, protect me, stuff like that. Like incorporating that, like, again, it's huge. Like there's just so much cool stuff we can do with this that we've not been able to do with BR, just because there's so many more complications with BR that we could just steal. Like the blueprint is there. Like it's been set from CS, COD, Valorant. All these other games have given us the blueprint for decades now, and we can now finally do these things in Fortnite. So I hope we do.
We know what people like as well, right? Like we know that people want emotes. Like, every single time I have to like clip Rad's stream to see like, oh, how did Peterbot react to losing the game? And like my ideal version of this, as like maybe not as a streamer, because it's actually bad for me as a streamer, but like as someone that's consuming the content, would be like a hub where you can just click through all those POVs, like we said, and you can turn off the cards, you can turn on the casters, you have the map at the top, like as a heat map, you can see everything's going on, like you have this little station of everything. I think that's like definitely the way they could approach us, but again, you're very limited by what you can do, because Epic's only going to give them like, you know, X amount of spectator clients. You know, they're still the big daddy in this.
I also think like the one part that we're all forgetting, which is really good about this, is that this is not broadcasted by Epic Games. So, you know, you can have casters who say fuck, or you can, you know, expand out that way if they end up doing that. Okay, maybe not, because it's in Saudi Arabia.
Professional.
You got to keep professional, but you know how it goes. But also, you know, if you have player voiceover, what they called player comms.
Let's fucking
You don't have to worry about them screaming and shouting and swearing. You can actually get those moments captured. So it's not limited by the rating of the game that it is in the main broadcast. You have, you know, whatever basically ESL wants to rate it as, and however that wants to be as part of the stream.
It makes for a better conversation as well for casting. Like when you're not limited by what you have to say, because you know you're gonna get fired or whatever. So
yeah, it'll be really good. Like I know for a fact there's so much like potential of what can be done with this. And you know, we've all been talking about that. It was good, I think, this weekend to showcase like, okay, no, we actually have something here. And I think there's still like some like criticisms of like ways we can be better and ways we can improve. But all in all, I think most people agreed that like it was a successful weekend. It was more fun than most people would have thought it'd be. And I actually think people probably are quite excited now to see what happens come like Esports World Cup with this, right? And then even beyond. So that was really good. A conversation I wanted to have that links with this, but also links with more like general competitive as a whole. And I'm lucky that Harry's not here, because I know he wanted to talk about this. Was visual audio. Visual audio, of course. For people who don't know, they also had the two maps. They had Hardpoint and Capture the Flag, and they also had another map, Shrinking Zones, which was I think was going to be played here at Dreamhack. But essentially, when that Shrinking Zones map came out, they quickly realized it was not going to work, because the nature of it with visual audio, and I think there were some other things that made it not work as well, but visual audio I know was a big problem with it, where it's like this game, and this is part of why I don't like the CS comparisons, like this game doesn't have walking. You can't cut comms, you can't cut audio, right? At every given moment, like you can hear everything and where your opponents are and what's going on. Like you can't like really like fake and bait information in ways you can when you can cut audio. And even in like Hardpoint and Capture the Flag, it's not a problem per se, but it's definitely something that like I'd actually prefer if they, you know, visual audio was off for all of this. Like I think it'd be much better. But unfortunately, that's just, you know, how it is in Fortnite. And again, in competitive Fortnite and like Battle Royale, I also have similar feelings where it's like I feel like visual audio, it's weird to say this because the purpose of visual audio is for accessibility. It's like a good thing. It's to help people who can't hear, right? Like it's good. But it's now become this like additional tool and thing that's using competitive that like you have to use. Like you can't not play with visual audio. It's not like an option if you're trying to compete at the highest level. How do you guys feel about it? Like the impact of it? Like do you feel like it is a problem or it is something that's just not good right now? And what can we do about it?
There's a few like different ways you could take this, because let's stick to the ESL part first before we go into Battle Royale, right? Because an ESL is just lame. And the thing is, from a development perspective, Epic Games are never going to put a part in creative or UEFN where you can have an option that says you can worldwide disable your accessibility options. You know,
the only thing you can turn off is aim assist. That's the only thing you can turn off, I believe.
Exactly. And well, maybe that is an accessibility option, right?
That just seems like opening them up to be sued
by
exactly, a million different people.
There's no way. So, okay, you go to a LAN, right? How do you really implement that if you want to remove it? Now you're on, okay, what if you actually have someone who's has some hearing loss, right? And are they going to be, well, can I use it? Do I need to have a doctor's note to essentially say that I need to have visual audio on? If it says so, essentially for ESL, it seems like, well, they're just going to be on. And the result of that in gameplay was very strange, because it was just like, you see players who know that the distances where they'll show up and the areas where they'll show up, so they just crouch for a long period of time, which is fine, because that's obviously how you do it in other games as well, to cut audio. But you're not cutting audio, you're cutting visual audio, which is significantly different. And it all realistically stems from the fact that Fortnite just has a horrible mix for footsteps and is in no way prioritized for actual like surround sound. Because I remember when I went and jumped on, played a game of CS after when CS2 came out or something, I was like, oh, I can hear what these guys are. I was like, oh, I can hear footsteps. Nice. I was like, whoa, this is a new experience. I hadn't played this in years, and I just kind of immediately stood out to me like, oh yeah, actual audio exists. I understand it's very difficult in Fortnite. Like, imagine trying to have loud footstep audio in endgame; it would be an absolute disaster. But at the same time, it's like for ESL purposes, it's just there's literally no avoiding it.
And I mean, there's a guy in chat that said you're not on the ESO squad if you're deaf, mate. Well, that's not true. There was literally a guy in Copenhagen that had no hearing in his right ear, I believe, that conned Booga. I don't know why that's relevant, Booga, but like, you know, it was a Brazil Fortnite pro player that has pretty much partial to no hearing in his right ear, and you know that accessibility shit is for him. You know, like he won't be able to hear Booga on his right side boxing up if he doesn't have the footsteps coming in. But I agree to you in terms of ESL, Battle Royale. Not so much. About ESL, you can't make meaningful like strategic plays, and like maps like the shrinking zone map that Levin mentioned, like that map is impossible to play because you're one lifing, and you can basically see everyone on the entire map there. So I do think it's unnecessary to have it, and it probably will completely change the way that you play ESL if you turn it off. But yeah, it should probably be turned off. Battle Royale, game's too shit audio wise to have anything other than like even though I might not be deaf in my ears, when I play Fortnite, I am deaf in both ears. Like I can't see where someone's coming from. It's impossible. Or hear, sorry.
So is it just like, and again, I'm totally uneducated here, but is it just a matter of just like the sound design of the game just means that like it will never, because this isn't a thing in like other BRs, no? Like I don't remember like having to have visual audio on in Apex or PUBG when I play those.
Yeah, but think about those games, right? Let's go Counter-Strike, because it's the classic, simplest example where you're in a 5v5. Like, what audio are you listening for? You're listening for footsteps, you're listening for gunshots. You know, the ambient audio isn't really that much in it at all outside of those two main things.
There's not much happening either.
Exactly.
That's why I use the example of a BR, not a game like Counter-Strike.
Yeah, so you switch to even Apex, very similar, right? Like you have the sounds of shooting and footsteps, and obviously there's other things like, you know, ropes and attachments and all these other things. But again, audio-wise, it's still relatively simple. But Fortnite has such a massive variety of sound effects. Like, think about Endgame, and you've got footsteps, 50 people shooting all in one, or 40 people shooting and footsteps all in one. Every build placed, every pickaxe, you know, every piece of utility item as well. There's so much just more going on in such a short space of time that there's just you would never be, even if you had the best audio mix in an end game, like the best like whatever ways you could have it, you would never be able to hear what's going on at all, unless like if you were fully in a box, it actually had like realistic acoustics, so that, you know, the walls are there, so it makes you hear what's going on inside your box only, or not only, but like better.
That'll be
And if
so
someone
jarring.
pickaxe your wall, exactly. And what happens if you miss a wall open? Is the audio going to come in that hole, or it would just that sound design would just be so I mean, I don't know anything about sound design as a game designer, but there's just so much going on in an end game that it's almost close to impossible to figure out. You know, in my eyes, I think I don't see a world where you can balance that properly. And then think about the game is also just not created to be balanced for a 50-man end game moving at all. So it might feel awful. Like there was one patch, was it not bugged, where there was really loud footstep audio or something like that in end game, and it was just like you could just hear just like because there's just so many people like
steps,
surrounding
so many people moving.
The thing is, back in the day, visualized audio had a downside to it. I don't know if you remember, like when it first came out, and like I'm not taking credit, but I think I was one of the first people that tweeted about visualized audio back in the day. Like you can go back to my Twitter account, but like back then, your audio was legitimately muted to some extent, and it made you lag.
You just didn't have direction audio. So when you had visual audio on, you couldn't actually hear that someone was to your left. It just showed you.
And you had shit FPS for some reason. I don't know why, but like your FPS went to shit every time you had visualized audio on. So like maybe there needs to be some sort of downside to having visualized audio on, you know, like maybe limiting our audio on the outside. Like I don't know, like
but then I just feel like they get sued again.
I'm not that deaf. Like, come on, I still have to hear. Like, I don't know. But you could do something like where you can limit specific audio, like ambient audio, stuff like that. But then we'd probably end up having pros playing with like, okay, we want this audio off, this audio off, this audio off. Like we've had pros play fucking 1600 by 50 stretch res before, and they've been content. Like they would play the worst obvious option of a video game. Just so they have a competitive advantage, and then people would be pissed about that too. So
I mean, it comes back to just like every other fix, patch, bug, frustration. It's just Fortnite, and it's incredibly difficult from a game design perspective to make it work. In my eyes,
no, it's tough. It's tough because I feel like there's aspects of visual audio that definitely make the game too easy, or just like aren't as like skillful, but like you probably highlight, there's just not really much you can do about it. It's one of those things where, again, like I don't think it's inherently a problem. Like I think if we were looking like what are the problems with Fortnite VR, like there's a longer list, like there's more things we could talk about. But it's always been something I thought about where I was like, that's like interesting. I don't really know if I like that or dislike that, but you know, there's not really much you can do. So
it's not, and it's interesting that lately, of course, we've been having like more casual debates that the casuals are starting to bring it up now, which I think is
really
so strange.
What are the casuals saying?
Have you not seen these tweets where like obviously a lot of them are about like cars, obviously, and like you have visual audio and you can see it, and it's become a bit like of a meme over like more like the first couple of days of the season where they're like, oh, you have visual audio and you have all this, you use low settings, you know, it's like it's almost like they were hating on all of the competitive advantages thing. I wish I could let me see if I can find the tweet and read it out to you, because it was a bit of like a copy paste. I don't know how like real it was. Visual audio. But yeah, it's funny because I thought the fact that you're bringing this up was interesting because the amount of casuals who are bringing it up as well was pretty high.
I just think in a world where like we don't live in an ideal world, but in an ideal world where visual audio isn't a thing and the actual sound design and the audio of the game is like perfect, I think having visual audio off is just more skillful and it's like better. So so ideally, I don't want us to have visual audio, but as you have, pointed out, like we kind of just need to have it because otherwise, like, the sound's just.
I wouldn't be surprised if ESO just didn't know that was a thing. Like, they're like, until now, and then like now they might get some people like, maybe we should turn on visualized audio. Although I think every pro probably would want it on. I think.
Well, they would, but they would want it on. But like again, I think the mode is just like there's more advantages of like. In turning it off in terms of just adding more depth and complexity to the mode and like making it more enjoyable to watch. I think as a whole, like they might not want it, but I think in the long run it'd be better.
Only certified deaf people should be given visual audio. We'll have pros going to like pay the local
right.
What is a hearing doctor?
I don't know.
A hearologist. There you go. They're like slipping them money so they can get like a disability card or something like that. There's no way we ever get that as a thing.
Yeah, you just open yourself up to just like severe amounts of fraud if that happens. So I don't think that's going to be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else on ESL that we want to touch on?
Nothing specifically. Like overall, great weekend to watch. People enjoyed it. I think there's a future. It just how far can we get it? And also, it's like 2 tournaments a year, right? Like it's the LAN and then some online tournament. The online tournaments don't hit the same as the LANs, and that's you can say that with a lot of things in Fortnite. Like the LANs are hitting different all the time, but this particularly, it just feels empty online, mainly because nobody streams. Like it's a game mode that you can't really stream without like a shit ton of delay because you're gonna get stream sniped the whole time. So I really hope they do some sort of clean feed for the online qualifiers, selfishly, but also because I think it'll be a fun watch. So
yes, please. If anyone from ESL or Esports World Cup is watching, please do a broadcast. Invite me and invite Boop out to Saudi as well to co-stream and do fun stuff, please.
Boop X11 Saudi Arabia.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's jump into some BR stuff though. We had some updates to the game, an attempt to change / help the meta of the game. Didn't really do much, but we'll look at it anyway. Essentially, they unvaulted boogie bombs in casual mode to force people out of cars, which to be fair has been a bit if you've played any ranked or anything, like it's nice having the boogie bombs, getting people out the whips. I find you get people out the whip, you shoot them once, they just try jump right back in the whip and drive off anyway. But then they had some other changes. They reduced the machine gun turret accuracy and grenade launcher turret damage to structures, reduced vehicle health in solos. Boss cars do not automatically regen health anymore. This one was a big one.
Massive.
This one was, oh my God, that was terrible. Boosted damage dealt to vehicles from boom bolts. Again, another like thing to try counter the cars more. Increased nitro gauntlets recharge time, which was a big one that people have been asking for in terms of like the nitro fist. Just interesting that they called it nitro gauntlets here when in game it's called nitro fist.
Oh,
that's very interesting. Actually,
I would patch that to change it to nitro gauntlets in game because everyone's been talking about fisting.
Yeah, is it still nitro fist in game, or have they changed it to gauntlets?
No, I mean, unless they've done a sneak patch, I'll keep an eye on the next patch.
Somebody watching the stream right now is on Fortnite, 100%. Check in game. Is it nitro fist still, or is it nitro gauntlets? Because that's interesting that they worded it. They're always very particular.
They know.
They know. They know
about fisting, bro.
They are always very particular about how they like word things. So the fact that they didn't call it the right thing, interesting. And the chat's still saying it's still fist, so very interesting. And they reduced the nitro shoulder bash damage to players, which again was something that we that was like a huge one, because the ability to run through with nitro splashes and just completely destroy anybody. I think it did 75 before, and now it does 25. So that was another big change. Still quite broken in many ways, because I think the theme of this is there were good changes in that they clearly know what the problems are with some of these things, and they've clearly seen the complaints. However, the changes didn't feel like they did that much. It still all feels mostly the same.
Yeah, I think I have like the point I want to put about this is this did almost 0 2 tournaments. You know, this was a good patch for ranked. It's still a bit, you know, I mean, the season's car, so it is what it is, right? Like the reducing of the health of cars, especially for solos. Solo ranked is a bit more playable now. I say a bit. You know, there's still a lot of issues. But this is like a day 4 patch. Like this is an update that happened right at the start of the season. It usually takes significantly longer before anything happens at all. So it's a very good sign that we have this. I highly doubt this will be the last like balancing patch we'll ever see, you know, because you know, nitro fists, I ain't calling them gauntlets till they change the fist gauntlets in game, are obviously still broken as hell. Recharge time, sure. Infinite mobility, we can fly through the sky, is not very balanced for competitive, but that's far from the biggest problem with that item. You know, the shoulder bash doing 75, annoying, no doubt. So nerf to 25, great fix. But that's not the problem. Like running through my fully, like the 300 structure damage of the shoulder bash is so significant in almost anything, because if you think that obviously wood, brick, 300, you can run through them fully built. Metal takes like 8 seconds to get to 300 HP or something like that. So it's like there's almost no point unless they're already fully built in metal that you can actually not just run straight through the box. Like there was a game in the Solo Cash Cup where that exact thing happened to me. I was weak. I just ran away, boxed up in 2 metal boxes, and he literally just ran through my box and killed me straight away. It's like there was no play I could have made in this instance that would not have gotten me killed there.
Yeah.
So
other than just shooting back, of course.
Of course,
adapting.
I have the Mythic Havoc. I can hit the 207. It's fine.
I think Solo Kashka was probably the worst tournament I've ever watched in terms of like the amount of people that just didn't have fun. I didn't see a single pro win a game pretty much. Out of all the stream POVs I watched yesterday, but just a bit of a side push here. One person won on stream.
Dang.
An hour and a half for Fortnite.
Yeah, hour and a half for only one person we watched on stream won.
Man, you're an ass viewing partier then, man. You can't even pick right POVs. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, with everyone else. Oh, sorry, 2 wins. Sorry, my bad. 2 wins.
Okay.
And one of them was a Middle East player, so like, it doesn't even count.
True, obviously.
I played Solo Cash Cup. That was the most miserable I've been playing a tournament in Fortnite. I was not happy.
Harry qualified. That's why he's not here. He's still celebrating.
Harry did qualify finals, yeah.
Bro, it's a Mickey Mouse season when Levin's getting 4 kills on low ground with a fist and Harry's qualifying Solo Cash Cup finals.
What happened to the game I loved, man?
Like, what are we playing here?
Hey, how did you do in Solo Cash Cup? How many points did you get, Reese?
Bro, I started. I'm not gonna lie. Bella came home and I got full mythic loot. I got full mythic loot and she was chatting to me about something and I was looking away and I was sitting on top. Like I was AFK for like 10 minutes with the mythic combat and whatnot. Someone came in and started to kill me while I was chatting to her because I was so bored. Died on 65 points. I was like, I'm just not queuing my last game, man. I just can't be bothered with this. Like, I was doing horrific before that, just to clarify. But that was like the nail. I was just not enjoying my time at all. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck this. It wasn't even good games. Like it was funny because it was so placement based, yet the games were all so dead, like worse than normal. So I at least thought I'd get some high quality matches in. And the end games I played, every single one of them, someone landed in my box and fisted me. I got the kills most of the time in trade, but it's like I land first moving, if someone lands on my head and just fist straight. Like literally the 3 end games I played every single time. It was like,
the main problem I had in my games was like you'd get to like first moving and like you fist someone as you just have to do. Like you just can't get away with not fisting. But then in so many games, I just have the prick with the mythic bow just being an absolute nonce and just spamming every single, and it's like, yeah, man, it was it was just miserable, man. It was honestly
awful.
Miserable.
Literally one of the worst tournaments I've ever played for an enjoyment sake, you know?
Yeah, like from a personal fun POV, I was just not having fun. Yeah.
Well, we just didn't adapt. I mean, Jiven went peak adapting. He won 2 games in finals.
He's the adapter, bro.
With 1 kill as well in each one. I don't know how he did that, but yeah.
It's because he's adapting.
NA is Mickey. NA is Mickey, and please don't attack me, Mongrel fans. But the fact that Mongrel almost won 2 games on NA after not even qualifying for finals in EU. I mean, if I speak,
Savage one opens as well. Like,
if I speak, I'm in big trouble. That's all I say. That's all I say.
That's individual skill level.
Statistically, NA has. This is my weekly NA hate, but statistically, NA has an incredibly Mickey, almost probably the Mickiest of Solo Cash Cups, because they have the same qualification threshold. And maybe it changed this season, but last season it was top like 11.5k on NA. And they had like a third of the players that EU has. So you're truly, genuinely in like the worst finals lobby possible out there.
No, I'm convinced I would win I would have won $100 by now. I think if I played NA.
Bro, I swear to God, if you every claim you've made about being a good player, it's all just imaginary.
No, you can't even test it because I just don't play the tournaments anyway. So like, I can just say all I want, you know.
You hit that one quick, Levin.
What? It's not even me. I don't control it.
The guy in the back who's clicking.
The producer, mate. That's the producer. It's going crazy.
Producer controls it. Hey, man.
Yeah, and the heal off was awful as well. Like the amount of heal off we had yesterday, like 7 people heal off yesterday with Vico, and he got 6th place. Like, and that guy was so W kill. He had like 20 kills. So like, it was unfathomable levels of heal off. Yeah, it's solo meta's cooked.
Yeah, it's just everything's cooked. Like it's just that's all I can say. It's just
that's the take. There you go.
I know it's a podcast, so I need to put the words in so the audio listeners can hear. It's just, but I was making a face that was awful. Essentially,
it was an ugly face.
Every single playlist is boring and annoying and frustrating. You know.
Actually, though.
I was about wait. You
have it.
This is my hot take of the week.
That's
right, my hot take.
Let's get into hot take of the week. No, let's get to hot takes of the week. Let's get to hot takes of the week.
Since we're cooking on it, right? Okay. Yesterday, let's give some backstory, some context, some storyline before we reveal our age. We were like solo cash cups at 6, but I loaded on and I was like, whoa, there's 2 cash cups going on at the same time. One of them is a 0 build solo cash cup. Amazing. Middle East is 2 hours before that. That means I could Qual Middle East 0 solo build. So me, Levin, and Harry all jumped in to play some ranked 0 build. I know. Hold your horses. It sounds insane. We played ranked 0 build. Firstly, before I even talk anything about my comments on it, we must mention Harry's rank, as this was. So, he apparently...
You have to be gold to play the tournaments.
You have to be gold to play tournaments. Harry says he plays ranked 0 build and gets ranked every season so he can play the 0 build cups. I don't know if he actually plays them or not. He played the first game. Levin and him won as a duo. You got gold. Was it gold 1?
Gold 1. I got gold 1.
Gold 1.
And I've never played ranked 0 build before. That was my first ever ranked 0 build game.
Harry loads in. Same game as Levin. Wins. He goes to gold 1. Harry, bronze 2. Literally the lowest rank you can possibly get. Because bronze 1, you have to intentionally derank to.
You have to try to be that.
Yeah, you literally have to try. You have to back out of games over and over. How? He got to bronze 2. But thing is, you can only go up 100% for each win. So you have to win to go to bronze 3, silver 1, 2, 3, and then get to gold. And it's 5 game wins or something like that to get to gold 1. And he was an hour before the tournament starts. So just mathematically, it's not possible. Yeah. So we were just playing 0 build this whole time, 0 build ranked. And the hot take of the week is that 0 build ranked is better than ranked.
It's the most fun mode. It's the most fun mode.
It was actually mad fun.
It's basically the same though at this point, though, right?
But that's part of why.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that I think a big pain point this season is that your building and your builds don't matter because of the meta. Whereas when you're playing 0 build, you don't there are no builds, so it's some of that aid stuff doesn't hit the same. So it's genuinely 0 build squads yesterday was the most fun I've had playing this season.
Yeah,
the bar is low, right?
Yeah. The bar is very low. The bar is incredibly low.
I would say the most fun was not that. I would say the squad tournament we played was more fun.
That's true.
True. But this was second because the reality was it was chilled. It was fun. There was enough action. You can playing 0 build squad. I'm I understand that this is the mindset Epic was in when they were deciding this season. This season was built with this in mind, not playing FNCS,
Yeah.
And I have played 0 build rank before and I do not enjoy it whatsoever. But this season I was I get it. I understand it.
Yeah, the meta works for 0 build ranked squad.
You might have the thing that I told you last week about with my parents. You might be in that echo chamber of absolute bots you're playing against. You finally feel good about yourself because you can actually kill people. Is that the case? Or are these people shooting back? What was happening?
I had 3 kills in the solo cash cup yesterday. I'll let you know.
Impressive.
So, is your parents doing that? Fuck no, mate. So I'm clear of them. I'm absolutely clear of them, right?
I'd hope so.
Don't put me in the same league as them, right? I did bottom frag in our squad. That's also another story. Actually, we're not sure. Maybe 11 bottom fragged.
I top fragged.
Take away the fist.
Get the stat spot out. Get the stat spot out.
We did, but it was wrong. It said 11 had 28 kills. So I was like, that's definitely not right.
Yeah.
I know.
But I was definitely the top fragger. I was putting in the work, bro. 100%.
You were left clicking. That's
I'm sure. Yeah.
It was only that one game where I got 5 kills in the fist, bro. Come on, bro.
Yeah. So I know the point was it was enough action and enough of the fundamentals to be fun without the frustration of the annoying stuff. So it's not something I would love to play every day and grind, but it was just it was a relaxing, fun chat and vibe. It was the casual experience that you need in part of this game.
Thanks for the invite, guys. By the way,
were you trying to play Middle East zero build solo?
yeah, actually, never mind.
We didn't
thank you
either
for the
because we
invite.
just kept playing ranked. But yeah,
That
was my hot take then.
Yeah, you know, to be fair, that is more hot than the take I'm gonna give. My take is not hot at all. My take is lukewarm at best. Squad Victory Cup, best thing to do in this game. Best competition we've had in this game. In terms of like fun playing it, I think that was the most like fun thing to play that we've had in forever, in like years. I'm sad we've not had more squad cups, like squad competition. I'm not necessarily saying we should bring back squad FNCS and anything like that, right? But just like having like squad victory cups and like stack squad games is like so much fun. And I'm glad we have them this season. I hope we get more. But yeah.
I wonder if that's because of the meta though. Because like normal squad cups, at least from what I remember them to be, is like, I mean, that it's similar to True. It's like it's 5-5-5 full tarping and like a regular meta. There's meta, there's chaos, there's bullshit happening. That probably makes it more enjoyable because you're not seeing the 40 people moving endgame. I mean, there still is 40 people moving endgame like crazy. But like at least something happens and people aren't just playing to heal off every single time. But
I think if we're gonna do the meta thing, then like yeah, but you can make that argument like for almost anything. Like the meta is always gonna make the game to some extent. Like squad cups last season and a no mobility meta would have been miserable. Like it wouldn't have been fun, right? Of course. So there's definitely a balance to it. I think in like most movement metas that we've had in the past couple of years, like squad cups would have been super fun. And
also, I think the point you make is like it depends. It depends on like the level of tournament you're playing, right? Because squads FNCS is fucking awful. It is nowadays it would be genuinely the worst tournament format you'd ever watch, right?
100%.
There'd be some cool team plays and whatnot, but it would be awful. But it's the context in which it's set, and I don't necessarily think it's too much to do with the meta. In all honesty, I think the main context is that it's a tournament that's fun. It's a bit easier. That you can just vibe and hang out, right? And you're doing that with a group of 3 other players, where you can just actually just like relax and have a good time. Like, and if you want to try, you try. You know, you can just basically just vibe out and have a fun time with a squad. It's an elevated level of playing ranked or pubs or something because there's stakes to it and you're committed to it. And at the end, if you don't do well, it's not FNCS. You don't have to grind for it. You're just jumping in and having like a good time. It's kind of what I think of as, you know, think about like the daily cups back in, you know, chapter 2 or whatever. The point of that tournament was just, you know, you jump in, you have something to play and it's fun. And it's the same kind of thing now. So that context makes squads much better because it's not like every game's just like tarp simulator playing for heal off.
I actually think that in terms of what that squad cup was, that is in an ideal world what like a squad ranked would feel like.
Agreed.
Like in terms of like it's you jump in, you know, you almost can take it as seriously as you like in many ways. But come end game, like it's actually gonna be like a pretty, you know, stacked end game where like you play it, you know, how you would a comp end game, but it's not got that same intensity of an FNCS and other, you know, big money tournaments. So no, yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
It's that's a great take. Great take, Levin. It was good fun. I look forward to Sunday again.
I'm so excited. You know, I feel bad for Harry though. So initially the squad was gonna be me, Minnie, Harry, and we were gonna look for a 4th. But Harry couldn't play on Sunday because he had to go visit his brother or some shit, you know.
Mess out, man. Mess out.
He's been dropped now the whole season because our squad's too good.
Well, you guys
are
they going to be running at the same time as FNCS though? Are you guys actually going to be able to play?
So I didn't check that. I want to check that. I don't know if they're going to be on FNCS days. I hope not because I want to play.
If this squad earns, I swear. It's...
No, bro. We're not.
We're far away from.
What are we aiming for? Like a qualification at least, or?
We're just fucking having fun.
We're just having fun.
That's not allowed.
Honestly, we're just having fun. If we qual, that'd be insane. But I don't. I'm not like playing for that. I'm just trying to have some fun. But yeah, it's funny because Harry instantly sent like after the tournament, he like sent like the Squidman meme or some shit, you know, where he's like just watching us have fun and he's like in the corner and he's like,
no.
He said that was his motivation to qual for solo cash cup.
Oh,
wow,
okay,
yeah.
okay. Hey, it worked, man. It worked.
Speaking of skill level, there's something in the chat that I saw someone's like, "Okay, talk about 2 triple edits in a row equals Division 3 invite for Levin." Now, now Levin did not do a double triple edit, but he did DM me the other day. I was like, "Boop, please, like, Boop, I'll prove you wrong. Trust me, Boop. Trust me, I'll prove you wrong."
And I did.
And he did. He proved me wrong. I sent him a Division 3 invite. He played the scrims with the bottom level of EU. It was great.
Yeah.
He did.
Huh?
What was that sound?
What was that?
Well, it must have been for me then, I guess. I didn't hear it.
Yeah, no, it must be for you. It must be for
the
me.
big dog's letting out a big something else. Jesus.
Oh no, there's a plane going by outside.
Oh, okay, it sounds like
yeah. I've
Kind
got
of
a
like
window.
warships, mate.
I wasn't sure if my mic would pick that up or not.
Nah, it was slight. So anyways, yeah. So Levin, he played his Division 3 session. It was great. He placed like 24th. It was like he's like, look,
21st actually.
My bad. His screenshot is like, Boop, I proved you wrong. Next session, Boop, it's not going too well, man.
Okay. So,
He was 0-2. He was contested off spawn, and then he went 0-3 off spawn, and then he got kicked out of Division 3.
Okay. So just for some context here, I had an overwhelming amount of people DMing me like, hey, look what Boot said. You need to do this for invite. If you do 3 triple edits, or if you do this, someone sent me a clip where you were talking shit like they're just gonna get bottom 3 anyway. We're gonna have to kick them anyway. And I was like, all right, So when you ended your stream, I messaged you. I said, look, we're not getting bottom 3 because my mentality is this, right? I know what my level is as a player. I'm not delusional, right? However, with that being said, I know if I'm uncontested, if me and Mini are uncontested, it's impossible for us to get top 3. I mean, bottom 3, sorry.
Top 3 as well.
top 3 as well. But it's impossible.
Perfect, yeah.
It's impossible for us to get bottom 3 or bottom 5 because we know how to play mid game. Like that's for people of our skill level, that's like the easiest thing. Playing mid game's easy. Like of course I know what the fuck to do in mid game. It's easy.
Yeah.
But the problem, and in our first session, that's what happened. We were uncontested. We didn't even land our spot in the first session. We didn't get it. Because we land brawlers. We got moneymaker base, but we're still in that south area, so we still knew, what we need to do, like mid game wise. But again, when we were cons, it was just cooked, man. Like it was, like us contested, we're just feeding us to the wolves. I was, disappointed, but it was a learning lesson. We learned a lot in terms of what we need to improve our spawn. So today, when we play performance eval, I'm expecting better, bigger and better things. Yeah.
How about a challenge to get back in for you in performance eval?
Okay, what's the challenge?
What's like a reasonable placement? Like, what are you confident getting in eval today with Mini Miner?
So, week 1, I think we got 80 points.
Okay.
Week
Qual
2,
like 100.
Let me check Mini. Let me check Mini.
Yeah, let me get the line here for the biggest odd lines here for.
Why is your profile private, mate? Well, who do you think you are?
He doesn't want the fans, bro.
Yeah, check Mini Miners though. Check Mini Miners.
Mini Miner _. He's not even got the original.
So 215 to qualify.
He's private as well. Oh my god.
Private? Oh god.
Bro, what are these?
215 to qualify.
Do I have to open my game to check?
Top 1,000 is 169. Okay.
Mini Miners not private. Mini Miner. I'm on his thing now. Let's check events. So the first EVA. So last week we got 118 points. 118 points.
Okay.
So what do we have to get this week? Considering the week before that we got like 80 points, what do we have to get this week to get back into Noble Div 3?
Okay, so 169 is top 1,000. So let me see, what's like a reasonable placement for your level? Okay, top 5,000, surely 130 points. That's improvement from the last week, right?
So if we get 130 points this week, we're back in Noble Div 3.
I will do this. If you get 130, okay, here's the line. 130 points, you get back to Noble Division 3, but you will still get kicked out if you get bottom 5.
That's fine. What if I die? What if I buy the diamond roll?
Yeah. Well, then you're
then I'm
dead. But like, if you somehow get top 1,000, I will give you the diamond roll without even anything. You will be safe in Division 3 forever if you get top 1,000.
If we get top 1,000, can I get Div 2?
Sure. Okay, fine. Div 2 top 1,000, top 2.5k forever role in Division 3, top 5,000 and invite. Anything below that, you're dead to me.
Damn. Okay. You know what?
Well,
Challenge accepted.
All right, let's go.
Challenge
We'll see it.
accepted.
I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting.
Really? Look the fucking.
Also, you have 45 minutes to warm up.
yeah.
Oh shit.
Such a
So with that being said, wrap up the
yeah.
podcast today. Thank you guys for listening. No, okay. One last thing I wanted to talk about because this got confirmed as we were live. Two Middle Eastern players, Phantom and QNDX, have moved to EU to qualify to globals in Major 3. React. What are we thinking?
Oh, this is like a new. I mean, this is the first Middle East team I think we've seen come here. Am I right?
No, there's like a few like individuals like Puma who play EU now, I think. And Alan, but no one of their level, I believe.
The first like good Middle East team. The problem is Middle East teams will all tell you that they do not know how to play Storm Surge whatsoever, and it's not anything to do with them. It's an issue more with the region. So I'm very interested to see their playstyle and how they can actually adapt on like a big region with the best players. Because when I've said this a few times. So when I spoke to, can't remember who it was, someone Middle East player before the Invitational, he was like, okay, our surge strat was like sit on this hill in our FNCS the season before, and we were like 600 above every single game. It was great. Then when we go to Invitational, no tags, no damage from the exact same strategy because obviously the players are significantly higher level. They make less mistakes. So I'm always kind of a little concerned about Middle East players coming playing on like bigger regions just for that alone. Like they literally don't have good practice. Their grand finals is not good practice for like the highest level of either international land or even what our grand finals would be or like an NA either. So I'm actually more just really interested to see if they can like catch up. Are they good enough team to do it to start with? Looks good. Looks going to be interesting.
So for context, QNDX is a one-time FNTS winner. Phantom is a two-time FNTS winner. QND qualified to the global championships last time with Rapid, who is considered one of the best fighters in the region. And then they placed, I believe, 14th last FNTS Grand Finals together. So I don't know. Like QD is a controller player. Like they didn't do that hard. I don't know if they qualified like to the finals of global championships. But like, I mean, I've spoken to this guy a few times. Like, he seems pretty motivated, and he's already asking about playing scrims and stuff. Like, even if they don't perform, they're here for improvement, which I think is always very valiant. Whether or not they'll qualify to global champions to the EU, probably not. But like, you know, I can always give someone the benefit of that when they're trying to improve and trying to become better, to then take that back to their own regions and improve. It didn't work out for King, but you know, let's hope it happens for them.
I was gonna say, do you think they have a better chance of qualifying for globals in EU, where they got to come top 14th, or in Middle East, where they got to come probably top 2? 1? I don't know what the threshold is, 1 or 2 or something like that.
So I don't watch Middle East, so I can't give a reasonable answer because I don't know what the level is there. I don't know where they are relative to the Middle East level. But with that being said, they're more likely to qualify Middle East.
I feel that too. Like Josh Spot, I think they're just gonna get, oh, it's a Middle East team landing there. I'm landing on them. It's top 500 Italian player from Noble 24/7. You know,
literally, there is no way things just go smoothly for them here in EU. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. It's like nobody coming from another region gets that level of respect or spawn. It's the same reason why when we talk about things in reverse, the other way, when we talk about NA, like Savage and Mongo, if they call grands and NA, they're just gonna be conned. Like, and there's no, like, I mean, it just, the same thing will happen to these guys here in the EU. So yeah, they were probably more likely in Middle East.
Our best players have left though as well. So
that's true.
Some of our best players, best players, right? It's a weird dynamic. He just looks dusted, man. I'll be so he does just look dusted.
Middle East's gonna come over and they're gonna win, and then we're gonna have the NA players will have infinite ammo to make fun of us forever. If
that happens, I'm moving to Texas next season. I'm becoming a yeehaw, bro.
Yeah, I'm becoming an NA content creator too, man. I'm gonna start watching it. I'm gonna start covering it, not doing videos on these shitty EU players anymore if that happens.
The thing is, the reason why they moved, apparently, like literally, they messaged me before, like, where do we go for the land, right? Like, where for EU? Sorry, like, do we go to England? Do we go to Germany? I was like, yeah, I'd probably go to Germany for the best paying. Like, why are you moving? Like, yeah, everyone's just a fucking teamer, bro. They're all just teaming in Middle East, man. Like, we can't do it at like and Middle East is cooked. The whole team in, like, we're going to EU. So, like, I guess it's better than that. I guess
it's true. That's kind of I said this before the podcast was on, but I'll repeat that. Basically, how a lot of Middle East works is because it's such a small region, there's a lot of friend groups. So the friend groups all basically, there's some very dubious teaming going on between like lots of duos landing in certain areas, not targeting other players. It's all
shady business. Shady dealings.
There's a lot of shady stuff. I don't know the specifics of like who would what and when, but I've heard it a lot from a lot of different Middle East players.
That's a shame. That's a shame. Like that's like a thing that has made a team just consider leaving a region completely, and like there's no real resolution. We're just gonna go about it. It's like, yeah, we'll just have the 2 or 3 teams from Middle East who call, and that's it.
But that's kind of why I ask. Like, do you think it's easier to do it on that, where you have a bunch of teams who are teaming all together, or coming over to a more competitive region where you have to come like top 14, 15 or something like that? It's a really complicated question that obviously we don't know much about them to be able to answer specifically, but I think it's an interesting. I think maybe in their minds it maybe is easier to qual here.
I mean,
you have a lucky run, maybe it happens. I don't know. Speaking of, I guess one thing we should also not forget is the FNtasia format changes.
I was gonna say there was a great account on Twitter at @BoopNL_.
I love that guy.
He tweeted about the new format.
_. Ugh.
Yeah, that's a bit weird. Having an underscore in your name.
I tried buying Boop NL or Boop, and like she doesn't want to give it to me, man. Like
unlucky, really. Unlucky. The FNTS format has officially changed. Open to round 2 is now top 2,000, or still top 2,000. Round 2 to round 3 is top 1,000 still, and round 3 to weekly finals is top 50. Having a weekly set lobby in the qualifiers, great. Thank you. The last 2 majors have been terrible to watch in terms of the qualifiers for that reason. There just wasn't a set lobby to follow. Unfortunately, though, the lack of change to the rounds before that is still a bit Mickey. What does everyone think? I think I saw you, Boop. You said if they had changed it to 2 to 3, being 500 would have been better.
Yeah, so I don't understand of changing the format to something that's very very good, and then like not looking at anything else. Like did no one really think like, how is this going to affect like the overall level of qualification in the rest of this tournament? Right? Like we've given this feedback before, but like round 1, okay, opens to round 2, top 2,000, fine. Like some people to argue like, oh my god, EU has 300,000 people playing. How can I only have top 2,000 qualified? Get better, shitter.
Bro. Me and DJ came top 2K twice. So it's
exactly,
like,
If they can do it, you can do it as well.
Yeah.
Round 2 to round 3, 2,000 to top 1,000 is atrocious. It is the single most boring format I've ever watched. All the pros qualify in like an hour. It's awful. 50% of teams making it through. It doesn't feel competitive. That should have been top 2,000 to top 500 or top 2,000 to top 250. Now, because we have this weird thing that we have, with this massive gap from 2,000 to 1,000 only. Now we go from 1,000 people to 50 people. Now it becomes even harder to qualify to weekly finals. And that would mean something if weekly finals were actually good, but weekly finals are actually just dog shit as well because they don't mean anything. I don't know if you remember the old weekly finals, but they just always end up being, hey, I'm going to alpha my jaw spot. I'm going to grief this team. It doesn't matter because the series points don't change as much. Maybe slightly biased towards the top 50 in the leaderboard, but there really needs to be something done to make this format feel meaningful because it just feels like we're not doing much in the finals. We don't really care about making finals other than maybe it's some better content to stream or like a better tweet to bring out. That's it.
It's a good start, at least, though. Again, set lobby was something that has made the last 2 seasons unbearable. Like, the lack of that has made the last 2 seasons unbearably boring. Like, to the point where I didn't even really watch a lot of. I did, but I wasn't really paying attention. I'm locked in. I don't know what's happening. And even when you did watch it, I don't know what happened.
You still don't know what happened in totality.
I said it last time. When Pink won both qualifiers, I was like, okay, had I not watched some of his stream, I don't think I would have seen him at all. I can't remember if they were even shown on the broadcast. They maybe were once or twice, but I just don't remember. I was like, they dominated. I didn't see it at all. So where's that storyline gone? Don't know. Yeah, but so that's a good start. But again, like the top 1K is a problem. I think the reason it's been done is more for like not the top players, though. You know, it's probably more an incentive for the average competitive player to be like, man, I could make a round 3 here if I just come into a top 1K.
But the problem even then is like, and you should know this from your experience of playing it, those players aren't like those players aren't the players that need the handout of making it to round 3.
No, those players are some of the dumbest players imaginable, mate. Like, I've never... Round 2, playing the top 2K round 2 actually shocked me. Like, I have never played a tournament where my expectation was so wrong in my life. Because my thought process was like, okay, these players are going to be the one... They're going to be what I would have thought. The people who would need a handout. The people who are like, okay, we're going to play placement. We're going to be smart. But no, it's like everyone in the top 2K thinks they're... like Peter Lottenpile.
Yeah.
And they're not even nearly. Like most of them are horrific.
If you're gonna do the handout thing, you would have done it for round 2. So you make maybe you make top round 2, top 5K or top 10K or something. So you know what I mean? Like you if you're gonna do the handout, like you'd give it further up.
Absolutely.
I've never seen a more boomer take than like, man, why do these guys just want a W key us?
No, but it's like it wasn't.
Maybe you're the issue. Right? Maybe you were just looking shit. No. You were building and like they're like, oh my god, this is a free kill.
Thing is, we got W keyed every game, but I think we only lost 2 of the 10 or however many games it was. What it was like, we won most of the fights. The problem was, it's like they are also shit at fighting, so it's like this long, drawn out grief every single time, and it's like every game ended in that. And I was like, if we're on an even skill level fighting wise, we know it's not a good idea to W key because we're not going to finish these fights quickly. Why is everyone else making these W key plays and then drawing both our fights out? They lose. If we lose, obviously we're out. But when we win, it's like, well, we just have such a long... We have no mats. We're scuffed. Everyone's wasted everything. So those top 2K rounds are so strange for the top 2K players. The people around there, it's like... It is like a totally different tournament with full of like some of the strangest level, like skill level possible.
Yeah. So what also one person asked, and a lot of people are confused about this, serious points still exist. You only get your serious points now. Instead of making it to the finals now, you can get your serious points in round number 3 by placing top 255. So that's how you get your serious points now. It's still top 255 people make it through to upper and lower brackets together, the difference. But you can get your serious points now in round number 3 instead of round number 4, which benefits some team more because some teams are better in like a bit open format, like they're better in like the non-set stat games. And I don't know, maybe round 4 isn't really as much as like a set lobby, but it resembles a set lobby a little bit more than a round 3, obviously. So it'll help the aggressive and W keying teams make it into grand finals a lot more. I think
the problem still remains though that you had with the other format, where like there's now just a lot of people who make it through to the FNtasia semi-finals who you never see.
True, yeah.
You'll just never see those teams, and now like we get to semi-finals, it's like, how's their season looked? And like the only real insight, because this is how it used to be before, right? And what would happen, as like Akasa and Reese, you'll remember the same, because I remember we had like some segments like this where it's like, we're talking about this team here in semis, and it's like, oh yeah, they just didn't make round 4s. And like that's the only real insight you can ever really give, because it's like, yeah, they just didn't make round 4s.
They've
like,
been shit this season, but not,
you know what I mean?
Not just shit enough to like Qual, you know?
Right? It's like, yeah, like they've been shit, but shit enough to still make it here, but shit, it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah. We'll have more format conversation, I'm sure, once the season's done. I'm happy though that we get some set lobbies just for at least round 4, just because like going through the calls in those set lobbies was like, it's just sleeper. But yeah, I think we covered everything. I need to go warm up for Eva, man. It's a big day
bro.
for me.
Only thing we missed was my hot take. I'll just mention it very quickly.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the opposite of V-Sub's hot take, and it is solo zero build is shit, and we should never have solo zero build cash cups. I don't. For reference, 150,000 people played normal solo cash cups. 21,000 people played solo zero builds cash cup, and we still. In the EU, yeah, in the EU. And they both have the same amount of qualification spots. It's insane. Make the ratios better. That's it.
That's like the most lukewarm take. Actually, no, sorry. That's like an ice cold.
Yeah, that's
an ice cold.
You'd be surprised by the Twitter replies. Like, why are these comp players telling me how many people should qualify? Like, I'll give us a chance. Like, it doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect you. Yes, it does, motherfucker. It does affect me. Not me personally, because I don't qualify and make money, but like the people that are playing. Like, how is it fair that only of the 150,000 people playing, 7,000 of them get to qualify and 22? Like, if you played OCE, you you had to queue in, disconnect, and then you would have qualified to OC round number 2. Like, it's insane. Actually insane.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I actually made the mistake of playing the NA solo 0 build, and
4 a.m.
Yeah, I will never do that again. Just for reference, I will never do that again. Everything I said about playing solos earlier in the pod, times it by 10 for the 0 build. Yeah, just times it by 10. Yeah, we need to rename that. This is no longer hot takes of the week. This is just ice cold lukewarm takes of the week.
Things everyone agrees on of the week.
Yeah,
that I tweeted 3 days ago. That everyone agreed with.
Yeah, that's what we gotta do now. All right then. Well, that's good. Good show, guys. Thank you. See you again next week.
A much better show without Harry. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's the hot take.
Conversations.
That's the hot take.
No queasy slander this week.
Yeah.
Well, only a little.
We only left a few people angry, not everybody.
I mean, maybe you're cooking something there, Boop. I don't know. That's an interesting one. Let's see. All right. Well, good luck in eval, Reese. I will be trying to outplace you on the leaderboards.
Like every week.
Good luck to you, Levin. You need it.
Good luck to you.
Yeah. I'm gonna be trying today, my hardest. Like I've never
I'm gonna check the leaderboard after every game, and I'm gonna screenshot your points and just send them to you, just so you know.
To put more pressure.
The Undertaker ding.
Yeah. Someone in chat said any special guests next week. We were actually gonna have special guests this week, but they bailed on us. So yeah, unlucky. We kind of got unlucky. But it is what it is. Anyone got any interesting plans over the next week before we wrap up?
Playing Fortnite.
Watching Fortnite.
Making videos on Fortnite.
Not making videos, but streaming Fortnite.
Same old.
Basically. How about you?
Playing, watching, making, everything.
I want to see something on that wall by next week, like something spicy.
Is that my goal?
Yeah, that's your goal.
I think so.
Like spice it up a little.
You know? We'll try it. Cool. Then yeah, be sure to check out Reese on all socials. Everyone knows Reese, man. It's the bloody big dog. Be sure to watch Boob as he does more viewing parties this week. There's so many tournaments this week for you to view in parties. So
much to do,
that's really good, yeah. So be sure to check out Boop. And yeah, thank you for all your support, guys, on the podcast. Last episode we did was the most viewed podcast we've had. It had 8,000 views.
Dang!
8,000 people watched FNtasia.
I'm making it.
Yeah. Jeez,
we're here,
man.
baby.
Yeah. Keep showing love on audio platforms as well. I know someone in chat said it earlier. Can you listen to this on Spotify? Yes, you can. Yes, you can indeed. So if you're on your way to school, if you're on your way to work, if you're at the gym or something, just slap it on. If you want to hear some boomers talk about Fortnite for a bit. Yeah. And we will see you guys all next week. Peace out.